Imagine walking through the ruins of an ancient city, the stones still whispering secrets no historian has ever fully uncovered. Across centuries, humanity has left behind traces of brilliance, terror, and wonder, but also puzzles that defy explanation. From strange artifacts found where they shouldn't exist, to ghostly accounts preserved in forgotten journals, history is filled with enigmas that blur the line between fact and legend. For every battle we can chronicle and every ruler we can name, there are questions that hang in the silence, questions that resist answers. Who built monuments that modern engineers still struggle to understand? Why do entire civilizations vanish, leaving behind nothing but broken walls and eerie silence? And what hidden truths lie beneath the mysteries we think we already know? Tonight, we journey into the shadows of the past, into stories that will leave you unsettled, amazed, and perhaps even questioning what you thought was possible. So settle in, clear your mind, and prepare for 3 hours of historical mysteries that will give you chills. In a quiet museum gallery in Lahore, Pakistan, stands one of the most haunting sculptures of the ancient world. At first glance, it is unmistakably a depiction of the Buddha, but not in the serene, meditative form most are accustomed to. Instead, this figure is gaunt, skeletal, his eyes sunken, his ribs and veins carved in agonizing detail. The posture is tranquil, yet the body itself speaks of profound suffering. This is the fasting Buddha, a relic from the ancient Gandhara civilization dating back nearly 2,000 years. The Gandhara region, stretching across parts of modern-day Pakistan and Afghanistan, was once a crossroads of cultures, where Greek, Persian, Indian, and Central Asian influences converged. Out of this melting pot emerged a unique artistic tradition, blending Hellenistic realism with Buddhist spirituality. And within that tradition, the fasting Buddha holds a place of singular power. Carved from dark schist stone, the figure represents Siddhartha Gautama during his 6 years of extreme asceticism, before he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. But what sets this statue apart is not only its artistic brilliance, it is the almost unnerving precision with which the human body in starvation is rendered. Each bone, each tendon, each hollow of the stomach is carved with a level of detail that suggests intimate knowledge of the effects of long-term fasting. It is a portrait so vivid that modern physicians have remarked on its anatomical accuracy. And it raises questions. How did artists of the 2nd century know so much about the body in such a state of decline? Was it merely observation, or was there something more? Historians generally agree on the intended symbolism. The fasting Buddha serves as a reminder of the futility of self-mortification. Siddhartha's emaciation shows the limits of asceticism, emphasizing the importance of the middle way. In this sense, the statue is not meant to glorify suffering, but to demonstrate its inadequacy. Yet the power of the piece goes beyond allegory. Viewers often describe a visceral, almost unsettling reaction, an eerie sense that the figure is more than stone, that it somehow captures a moment of lived reality, frozen for eternity. And here the mystery begins to deepen. Some researchers suggest the carving was inspired by direct witness to famine or ritual starvation, possibly even modeled on individuals who subjected themselves to extreme deprivation. Could it be that the sculptors of Gandhara had access to human subjects in such conditions, monks, hermits, or prisoners, whose appearance was recorded with striking fidelity? Others propose that the statue reflects not just artistic observation, but an almost scientific study of the body in decline. Yet for all the precision, no records survive to explain how or why such a work was conceived in such painstaking detail. There are also those who view the statue through a more esoteric lens. The hollowed cheeks, the sunken eyes, the stillness of the pose. Some interpret these features not simply as signs of suffering, but as markers of a transformative state, a kind of transcendence reached only at the edge of physical collapse. Could the artists of Gandhara have been trying to capture not only the Buddha's rejection of asceticism, but also the liminal threshold between life and death, an insight into what lies beyond ordinary perception? Adding another layer of intrigue, the fasting Buddha is not a solitary artifact. Variants of the theme appear across Gandharan art, though none match the Lahore sculpture in scale and impact. Why did this particular motif take hold in the region? And why did it fade from prominence in later Buddhist traditions, replaced once again by depictions of a serene, well-fed, and radiant figure? The statue also invites more speculative interpretations. A few fringe theorists point to the uncanny anatomical accuracy and wonder whether the artists might have had access to knowledge far beyond their time. Knowledge of the body, of medicine, even of states we might today call near-death experiences. Others, more metaphorically, suggest that the figure represents not a single man at all, but humanity's universal confrontation with mortality, hunger, and the fragility of existence. Standing before the fasting Buddha, one cannot help but ask, what did the sculptors truly intend us to see? Was it only a lesson in moderation or a meditation on suffering itself? Was it meant to shock, to warn, or perhaps to invite a deeper contemplation of what lies beneath the skin, both literally and spiritually? The answers remain elusive. No inscriptions accompany the statue, no texts describe its creation. What we are left with is the figure itself, haunting, skeletal, yet undeniably serene. A paradox carved in stone, death and enlightenment, suffering and peace, fused into a single form. As we look upon it today, centuries after it was first created, the fasting Buddha continues to provoke questions. Was it simply a brilliant piece of devotional art, or does it conceal a deeper insight into the human condition? And perhaps most haunting of all, what truths about the past and about ourselves are still waiting, silent, within its hollow eyes? From the hollow eyes of the fasting Buddha, we move from the stillness of stone to the depths of the sea. Mysteries are not always found in ancient ruins or sacred relics. Sometimes they lie hidden beneath the cold, shifting waters of the earth itself, and few places are as shrouded in uncertainty as the Baltic Sea. It was the summer of 2011. A team of Swedish treasure hunters, known as Ocean X, set out into the Baltic to search for shipwrecks, hoping to uncover remnants of sunken cargo, perhaps even valuables lost during wartime. What they discovered, however, was unlike anything they had expected. Lying 80 meters beneath the surface, nestled at the bottom of the seafloor, their sonar equipment picked up something unusual. At first, it seemed to be a large formation, roughly circular, measuring about 60 meters across. But the scans revealed features that seemed out of place in the natural world. Straight edges, right angles, a structure that, at least in outline, appeared almost architectural. It would soon be known as the Baltic Sea Anomaly. Descriptions of the anomaly vary, depending on how one interprets the murky images produced by sonar. Some claim it resembles a massive disk, a kind of sunken platform with ridges and a central dome. Others note a peculiar feature leading away from it, a long track or groove stretching across the seabed, as though the object had slid into place. Still others describe what look like stairs, passageways, even a second formation nearby, suggesting not a single structure, but perhaps a complex of some kind. The team that found it reported interference in their electrical equipment whenever they approached the site. Cameras, lights, even satellite phones would sometimes cut out without warning. Whether these malfunctions were caused by the anomaly itself or by the harsh underwater environment remains uncertain, but the reports added to the growing sense of unease. In the years since its discovery, theories about the Baltic Sea Anomaly have multiplied. The most grounded explanations suggest that it is nothing more than a natural geological formation. The Baltic is filled with unusual rock outcrops shaped by glacial movement during the Ice Age. Over tens of thousands of years, massive sheets of ice carved, polished, and deposited stone in strange, sometimes symmetrical ways. According to many geologists, the so-called anomaly is simply an ancient boulder, sculpted and dropped by retreating glaciers. And yet, questions linger. Why does it appear so unusually circular, more regular than most natural formations? Why do some scans show sharp edges and patterns that seem almost designed? Could it be, as some suggest, the remains of a long-forgotten structure built by humans thousands of years ago? Perhaps a stone monument or a ritual site now buried beneath the waves? Then there are the more speculative theories. Some draw comparisons between the anomaly and the fabled Stonehenge or other megalithic sites, imagining that it could be part of a prehistoric network of sacred places. Others wonder if it might be linked to sunken civilizations, cultures erased by rising seas at the end of the last ice age, their traces preserved only in mysterious shapes on the seabed. And of course, there are those who look even further beyond conventional explanations. To them, the circular form and track leading up to it evoke something entirely different: the image of a spacecraft, an object that crashed or landed long ago. Media headlines were quick to latch on to this possibility, calling it a UFO at the bottom of the sea. To some, the very idea was thrilling. To others, it was nothing more than a distraction from more likely earthly explanations. Ocean X themselves have remained cautious. While they describe the object as resembling a mushroom or a disk, they have never claimed to know what it truly is. Their dives to the site yielded limited photographic evidence, hampered by the darkness and sediment of the seafloor. Pieces of rock collected from the site showed traces of volcanic material, an oddity in the Baltic where volcanic activity is virtually unknown. But whether this points to something artificial or simply to geological quirks is still debated. As with so many mysteries, the story of the Baltic Sea Anomaly is complicated not only by the evidence, but by the absence of it. No definitive images exist. No thorough scientific expedition has been carried out. What we have are sonar scans, scattered reports, and fragments of rock. And yet, even with so little, the imagination fills in the gaps. We want to know why it looks the way it does. We want to understand what rests beneath those icy waters. Perhaps it is a simple boulder, shaped by glaciers and misunderstood in poor visibility. Perhaps it is something built, long ago, by hands we can no longer trace. Or perhaps it is something stranger still, a reminder that the sea hides more than it reveals. Standing on the shoreline of the Baltic, gazing out at the gray horizon, one cannot help but wonder. How many secrets still lie in its depths? How many anomalies, undiscovered, rest silently beneath the waves? And what truths about our past, or our place in the universe, might they yet hold? From the cold, gray waters of the Baltic, where questions linger in the silence of the deep, we now turn to another landscape, this one vibrant, humid, and alive. The Amazon rainforest. A place that seems, at first glance, the very opposite of an undersea anomaly. Here, the air is heavy with the scent of rain and earth. Trees rise like cathedral pillars, their canopies knitting together to form an endless green ceiling. Beneath them, rivers coil like serpents through dense undergrowth, carrying secrets that have remained hidden for centuries. For generations, the Amazon was thought of as a place untouched by civilization. To European explorers of the 16th and 17th centuries, it was a hostile wilderness, vast, impenetrable, and unforgiving. Stories of lost cities and great civilizations were dismissed as exaggeration or outright myth. tales of golden kingdoms like El Dorado were considered little more than fantasies that drove men deeper into the forest, often to their deaths. The prevailing belief was that the Amazon, with its poor soils and harsh environment, could never have supported complex societies on a large scale. But in recent decades, that assumption has begun to crumble. Archaeologists working with satellite imagery and aerial surveys have uncovered startling evidence that suggests the forest is not as empty as it once seemed. Beneath the canopy lie traces of vast earthworks, geometric shapes carved into the land, miles of roads and causeways, and remnants of settlements arranged with careful planning. These discoveries point not to isolated villages, but to large interconnected networks of communities. Cities hidden in plain sight, swallowed by centuries of vegetation. One of the most intriguing clues comes in the form of geoglyphs, massive shapes, some circular, others rectangular, carved into the ground. Stretching across parts of Brazil and Bolivia, these formations are so large they can only be fully appreciated from the air. While their precise purpose is unknown, their scale suggests coordinated labor, social organization, and a shared cultural vision. They are not the work of small nomadic groups. Then there is the mystery of Terra Preta, literally Black Earth. Scattered throughout the Amazon are pockets of unusually fertile soil, rich in nutrients and capable of sustaining crops far more effectively than the naturally poor rainforest ground. Scientists have determined that Terra Preta is not natural. It is man-made, created by adding charcoal, bone, and organic matter into the soil. This discovery suggests that ancient Amazonians were not merely surviving in the forest. They were engineering it, transforming the land to support agriculture on a vast scale. If the Amazon was once home to large populations, where did they go? Early European explorers described encountering populous settlements along the riverbanks. The chronicler Gaspar de Carvajal, traveling with Francisco de Orellana in 1542, wrote of cities stretching for miles, with grand plazas and well-organized societies. For centuries, historians dismissed these accounts as embellishment. But now, with new archaeological evidence in hand, Carvajal's words seem less like fantasy and more like fragments of a truth forgotten. The mainstream explanation points to the devastating impact of disease. Contact with Europeans likely brought waves of smallpox, measles, and influenza, illnesses to which indigenous populations had no immunity. Entire societies could have collapsed within decades, their cities abandoned, left to be consumed by the relentless growth of the forest. By the time later explorers arrived, what remained was wilderness, and the memory of what once had been was erased. Yet mysteries persist. How advanced were these cities? Were they loosely connected villages, or did they rival the complexity of civilizations like the Maya or the Inca? The evidence is still incomplete. Some researchers argue that the scale of the geoglyphs and Terra Preta indicates millions of people may have once lived here, far more than previously thought possible. If so, then the Amazon was not a void, but one of the great centers of human innovation. More speculative theories imagine that the Amazon hides not just lost cities, but forgotten civilizations with knowledge we barely understand. Some draw connections to myths of El Dorado, wondering if stories of a golden kingdom may have been distorted memories of a real thriving culture. Others even suggest that the engineered landscapes and massive earthworks could represent forms of science and design lost to time. Of course, not every shadow in the forest points to something extraordinary. The Amazon is vast, and its ecosystem can erase traces of human activity with startling speed. What might appear as a hidden city could, in some cases, be natural formations misinterpreted by the eye eager for mystery. Yet even the most cautious voices in archaeology now agree. The Amazon was not empty. It was shaped, cultivated, and inhabited in ways we are only beginning to understand. And so, the questions remain. How many cities lie hidden beneath the canopy, waiting for rediscovery? How much of what we believe about the history of human civilization must be rewritten in light of these revelations? And if millions once lived in this forest, what might their descendants still remember, carried in oral traditions, in myths, in stories of places that outsiders still dismiss as legend? The Amazon keeps its secrets well. Its rivers and trees conceal the traces of centuries, guarding them beneath layers of silence and green. But every discovery hints at a larger picture, one that challenges the idea of what is possible in the most unlikely of places. As we leave the forest for now, we are left with a question as haunting as any stone ruin or sunken anomaly. If entire cities could vanish here, swallowed whole by nature, what else remains hidden, waiting patiently for the day we learn how to see it? From the dense, vibrant canopy of the Amazon, where human ingenuity quietly reshaped the land, we now travel to a very different landscape, rolling hills in the heart of Europe. Near the town of Visoko, Bosnia and Herzegovina, lie formations that have sparked debate, wonder, and controversy for nearly 2 decades. Known as the Bosnian Pyramids, these hills appear at first glance to be natural, but closer inspection has led some to see something extraordinary beneath the surface. The most prominent among them, the Pyramid of the Sun, rises sharply from the surrounding countryside. Viewed from above, its sides seem unnervingly straight, its angles surprisingly precise. Neighboring formations bear names like the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Dragon, each displaying features that some claim are consistent with man-made structures. Terraces, stepped sides, and straight edges rarely found in natural hills. The landscape is striking, yet subtle, the kind of place that makes one question whether the Earth itself is hiding secrets in plain sight. In 2005, Dr. Semir Osmanagic, a Bosnian-American researcher, began excavating the site. He proposed that these hills are not natural formations, but remnants of an ancient pyramid complex, possibly older than the pyramids of Egypt. According to Osmanagic, tunnels run beneath the hills, massive blocks are aligned in geometric patterns, and traces of an ancient civilization can still be detected in the soil and stone. If true, these findings could radically rewrite our understanding of human history in Europe. The mainstream archaeological community, however, remains skeptical. Geologists argue that the hills are natural formations, shaped by millennia of erosion, tectonic movement, and sedimentation. Features that appear geometric, they say, can occur naturally in limestone and other sedimentary rock, creating the illusion of deliberate design. To many experts, the idea of an advanced civilization capable of constructing massive pyramids in Europe tens of thousands of years ago is implausible, lacking supporting artifacts or cultural evidence. Yet the site continues to intrigue researchers and visitors alike. Excavations have revealed what some interpret as blocks of carved stone and tunnels lined with large slabs. Carbon dating of organic material within the tunnels has suggested ages ranging from several thousand to tens of thousands of years, although the results are debated and often disputed. Some of the tunnels emit a faint electromagnetic charge, according to measurements taken by Osmanagic's team, adding to the aura of mystery surrounding the site. Then there are the patterns themselves. Alignments with solstices and cardinal directions have been reported, raising questions about whether the hills were ever intended to interact with celestial events. Could these formations have been deliberately positioned to capture sunlight on particular days, or to resonate with other natural energies in the landscape? Or are these patterns simply coincidental, an illusion created by human perception and a desire to find order where there may be none? Speculative theories abound. Some researchers propose that the Bosnian pyramids are evidence of a forgotten European civilization, one that predated the known ancient cultures of the continent. Others imagine that they were constructed as energy centers, using principles of sound, resonance, or geometry to generate effects we barely understand today. Even fringe theorists have compared the site to mystical or extraterrestrial activity, citing the unusual formations and underground tunnels as evidence of intervention beyond ordinary human capacity. For all the speculation, the site itself exudes a quiet, almost meditative power. Walking among the hills, one cannot help but notice the interplay of light and shadow, the way the sun tracks across the terraces, and the subtle hum of the wind through the trees. Whether these sensations are the echoes of ancient design or simply the experience of a unique landscape is difficult to determine. But they invite reflection, a pause to consider the limits of what we know about our own past. The Bosnian pyramids also highlight a deeper question. How much of history is lost, obscured by time, geology, or human forgetfulness? Could civilizations have existed that left little trace behind, only to be swallowed by the landscape? And if so, how many other natural formations might conceal stories we have yet to uncover? Critics and enthusiasts alike agree on one point. The site challenges the imagination. Its very ambiguity, the tension between natural formation and human construction, forces us to reconsider assumptions about the past. In this sense, the Bosnian pyramids are not only a mystery of archaeology, but a mystery of perception itself. How do we distinguish between chance and design, between the natural world and the hand of civilization? As we gaze at the terraces of the Pyramid of the sun setting in the distance, one is struck by the scale of the questions rather than the answers. What stories lie hidden beneath the soil and stone? What knowledge has been buried along with the hills themselves? And perhaps most hauntingly, even in a world we think we understand, how many truths wait quietly in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to uncover them? The Bosnian pyramids may never yield definitive answers. Their history, whether geological or cultural, remains entangled with the unknown. And as we move forward, we carry with us the sense that the Earth still holds mysteries, puzzling, profound, and persistent, reminding us that exploration is as much about asking questions as it is about finding answers. From the silent hills of Bosnia, where questions of human ingenuity and natural formation intertwine, we now turn to an artifact of a very different kind, one that rests not in the wilderness but behind glass, in the quiet halls of a library. The Codex Gigas, known to many as the Devil's Bible, is a manuscript that has fascinated, unsettled, and baffled scholars for centuries. Its sheer size alone is enough to command attention, nearly 3 feet tall, weighing over 165 pounds, and composed of more than 300 vellum pages made from animal skin. To lift it is to feel the weight not only of the parchment, but of the history and mystery it contains. The Codex is believed to have been created in the early 13th century, likely in a Benedictine monastery in what is now the Czech Republic. Its pages are filled with a mixture of religious texts, historical chronicles, and medical knowledge, blending the sacred with the practical. Among the familiar passages of the Old and New Testaments, there are texts that seem out of place. Exorcism rituals, a compendium of medicinal herbs, even accounts of the history of the world as understood in the Middle Ages. And then there is the image that has captured the imagination of generations. A full-page, striking depiction of the devil himself, staring directly at the reader, his form rendered in vivid, unsettling detail. The manuscript's origin story is shrouded in legend. One tale tells of a monk who, condemned to death for a grievous sin, promised to create a book that would glorify the monastery forever. To complete the work in a single night, he supposedly made a pact with the devil, who lent him supernatural aid. The result, legend claims, was the Codex Gigas, a work so vast, so complete, that human hands alone could scarcely have accomplished it in the time allotted. While this story is almost certainly myth, it has fueled centuries of fascination, adding a layer of dark mystique to the manuscript. What is remarkable, and still perplexing to modern scholars, is the consistency and precision of the writing. Every page is written in the same handwriting, suggesting that a single scribe completed the entire work without interruption, a feat that, even by modern standards, would take years. The text contains no apparent corrections or revisions, raising questions about the conditions of its creation. How could one individual maintain such meticulous focus over such a massive undertaking? Was there a collaborative process that left no trace, or was this truly the work of a single, extraordinarily disciplined hand? The Codex Gigas is more than a manuscript. It is a puzzle. Its contents are carefully organized, yet at times idiosyncratic. Sections that recount the Bible are interwoven with practical texts on medicine, exorcism, and numerology. The inclusion of the devil's portrait in the center of the book is both shocking and deliberate, creating a visual and psychological impact that is difficult to ignore. Scholars have debated its purpose for decades. Was it meant as a cautionary tool, a repository of knowledge, or a symbolic confrontation with evil? Or perhaps all of these, simultaneously? Scientific study has added further intrigue. Analysis of the vellum indicates it was made from the skins of over 160 animals, a massive undertaking requiring careful preparation, yet completed with a uniformity that suggests expert craftsmanship. Ink analysis reveals a consistency across every page, and radiocarbon dating confirms its creation during the early 1200s. Despite these insights, no records exist that describe the author or the conditions of production. We know the when, the what, and the where, but not the how, and certainly not the why. Speculative theories abound. Some suggest that the scribe may have had access to lost knowledge or advanced techniques unknown in his time. Others imagine esoteric or mystical purposes, arguing that the combination of sacred and forbidden knowledge was intended to serve a spiritual or even magical function. Fringe interpretations posit that the book contains hidden codes or secret knowledge encoded in the text, messages only decipherable to those with specific insight or training. Whether any of these theories hold truth remains uncertain, but they underscore the enduring fascination of the Codex Gigas. Visitors to the National Library of Sweden, where the manuscript now resides, often describe a feeling of awe and unease. There is something about the scale, the dark ink on pale vellum, and the direct gaze of the devil that creates a palpable tension, as if the centuries have preserved not only the words, but the presence of the author, and perhaps something more. To look upon the Codex is to confront both human ambition and the allure of the unknown. In this way, the Devil's Bible invites reflection on the limits of knowledge and the mysteries that survive the passage of time. How much of history is preserved in deliberate acts, and how much is veiled in myth? Was the Codex simply a monumental work of monastic diligence, or does it encode truths about the medieval world, or even beyond, that we have yet to understand? And perhaps most hauntingly, what is it about this manuscript of all creations that has allowed it to capture imagination for centuries, inspiring both reverence and fear? The Codex Gigas remains, above all, a testament to the endurance of mystery. It is an artifact that challenges our understanding of human capability, creativity, and perhaps even the supernatural. And as we continue to study its pages, we are reminded that some questions are not meant to be fully answered. They exist to draw us in, to make us pause, to wonder what lies beyond the edge of certainty. From the pages of the Codex Gigas, where ink and vellum carry centuries of human ambition and enigmatic imagery, we now turn to objects far smaller in size but no less mysterious, artifacts that have quietly surfaced from the depths of ancient Mesopotamia. The Ubaid lizard figurines, delicate yet unsettling, were unearthed from the Ubaid period, a civilization that thrived in southern Iraq more than 5,000 years ago. At first glance, they appear almost innocuous. small clay or stone carvings of lizard-like creatures, often depicted with humanoid features, their slender limbs and elongated bodies carefully crafted with remarkable precision. Yet there is something in their form, their gaze, and the subtle nuances of their design that arrests attention, suggesting a significance beyond simple ornamentation. The Ubaid culture itself was among the earliest to establish permanent settlements in Mesopotamia, predating the grandeur of Sumerian city-states. Their villages, organized along the fertile riverbanks of the Tigris and Euphrates, yielded an astonishing array of artifacts, pottery, tools, and figurines that hint at complex social, religious, and artistic practices. Among these finds, the lizard figurines stand apart, for they do not resemble common domestic animals, nor do they conform neatly to human representation. They occupy a strange liminal space between familiar life and the fantastical, prompting scholars to question the intentions behind their creation. Many researchers interpret these figurines as religious or ritualistic objects. Lizards, known for their regenerative abilities and sudden bursts of movement, may have symbolized fertility, transformation, or even the passage between the mortal and the spiritual. Some speculate that these small figures were talismans, intended to protect households or sacred spaces, while others suggest they were used in ceremonies designed to invoke guidance or favor from unseen forces. Yet despite these interpretations, no written records from the Ubaid culture explain their precise meaning, leaving room for speculation that spans centuries. What makes the lizard figurines particularly intriguing is the recurring humanoid form in several examples. Some carvings depict creatures with elongated torsos, small hands, and humanoid faces, while maintaining unmistakably reptilian traits, scales, tails, and angular snouts. The combination is subtle, almost deliberate, and it suggests a symbolic purpose beyond mere decoration. Did the artisans intend to merge human and animal characteristics to represent a concept, a deity, or a myth now lost to time? Or were these figures simply artistic experiments, reflections of imagination and observation intertwined? Modern analysis has only deepened the mystery. Many figurines are too finely detailed for their era, with symmetrical features and proportional limbs that indicate a highly skilled hand. Some researchers have noted the uniformity across disparate sites, suggesting that the motifs were widely shared within the Ubaid culture, and possibly even standardized for ritual purposes. But the figurines' true significance remains elusive. Were they objects of veneration, teaching tools, or coded symbols of knowledge that the broader population could not interpret? Adding another layer to the enigma, a few of the lizard figurines show signs of unusual wear or modification. Certain carvings appear to have been broken and reshaped, their forms altered over time, as though they were reused in successive rituals or carried symbolic weight that endured across generations. Could these alterations hint at evolving beliefs, or perhaps the transference of power or energy from one object to another? Such questions remain unanswered, and the absence of contemporary written explanations ensures that speculation continues. Fringe theories have emerged as well, inviting the imagination to wander beyond conventional archaeology. Some observers note that the humanoid reptilian form bears a curious resemblance to depictions of beings from much later myths or even modern folklore. Could these figurines represent a memory of encounters with something unknown, an echo of early human perception of entities that straddle the line between the familiar and the alien? While no evidence confirms such theories, the uncanny resonance of the figures with cross-cultural myths adds an additional layer of intrigue. The setting of their discovery also contributes to the mystery. Buried in modest homes, public spaces, and temple-like structures, the figurines were not confined to any single purpose or location. Their ubiquity hints at a cultural importance that permeated multiple facets of Ubaid life. And yet, despite thousands of years of excavation, their meaning remains opaque, a puzzle whose pieces are scattered across time and geography. The Ubaid lizard figurines, like the Codex Gigas before them, challenge our understanding of human imagination, ritual, and symbolism. They are artifacts that speak in silence, inviting us to interpret gestures and forms when words are absent. To look at them is to confront the boundaries of human knowledge, to wonder how early civilizations perceived the natural world, the supernatural, and the interface between the two. And so, standing before these small, enigmatic carvings, one is left with profound questions. What compelled the Ubaid people to create creatures that blend human and reptilian features so deliberately? What stories, beliefs, or warnings might these figurines encode? Stories that the passage of millennia has almost erased. And, perhaps most hauntingly, what other truths about human perception, mythology, and creativity remain buried, waiting to be unearthed, whispered from the clay of civilizations long vanished? The figurines remain mute, yet compelling witnesses to a culture we can only glimpse through fragments. Their message is both tantalizing and elusive, reminding us that the past often speaks in riddles, and that some mysteries, small, quiet, and almost imperceptible, carry a weight that rivals the largest and most visible wonders of human history. From the small, enigmatic clay figurines of the Ubaid culture, which blur the line between the human and the fantastical, we now turn to an artifact that occupies a very different realm of mystery, a realm of precision, ingenuity, and ancient technology. Off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera, in 1901, sponge divers exploring a sunken Roman ship stumbled upon fragments of bronze and wood encrusted with centuries of corrosion. What they recovered at first seemed unremarkable, a collection of mechanical parts. Yet upon closer inspection, it became clear that this was no ordinary object. It was a complex, miniature machine unlike any other known from the ancient world. This would come to be known as the Antikythera Mechanism. The fragments reveal a network of finely crafted gears, dials, and inscriptions, all intricately designed to interlock and move in precise harmony. Scholars have determined that the device could calculate astronomical positions, predict eclipses, and model the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. It is, in essence, an ancient analog computer, a sophisticated instrument of time, celestial movement, and prediction. The sophistication is staggering. Even by today's standards, creating a device with this level of precision requires extensive knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. How, then, could a civilization more than 2,000 years ago produce such a complex mechanism? The shipwreck itself is believed to date to around 70 BCE, though the mechanism may have been constructed decades earlier. The inscriptions etched into its surfaces provide tantalizing clues. They describe cycles of the cosmos, phases of the moon, and even details of the Olympic Games. Yet many sections of text remain incomplete or corroded, leaving gaps in our understanding of the device's full capabilities. Could it have been used as a teaching tool, a navigational instrument, or perhaps as a symbolic representation of the cosmos, blending science with philosophy? Mainstream archaeologists generally agree that the mechanism was the product of Hellenistic science, rooted in the mathematical and astronomical knowledge of the era. Greek scholars such as Hipparchus and Archimedes had developed sophisticated concepts of planetary motion, and it is possible that the Antikythera mechanism represents the practical application of their theories. Still, the sheer level of mechanical complexity is unprecedented, raising questions about what other technological achievements may have been lost to time. Adding to the mystery is the precision of the gearwork itself. The device contains more than 30 interlocking bronze gears, some with teeth cut to tolerances that modern experts find remarkable. How was such fine craftsmanship achieved without the tools and machines we take for granted today? Was it the work of a single visionary engineer, or the culmination of a broader technological tradition that has since vanished? No comparable device survives from antiquity, and references to similar instruments are scarce. The Antikythera Mechanism stands alone, a singular testament to ingenuity, appearing centuries ahead of its time. Speculative theories have naturally followed. Some suggest that the mechanism hints at lost civilizations with technological knowledge far beyond what the historical record suggests. Others propose that the object might have been part of a wider tradition of scientific instruments, now almost entirely erased by time and conflict. Fringe perspectives have even ventured that such devices might hint at extraterrestrial influence, though there is no evidence to support such claims. What remains indisputable, however, is the mechanism's ability to confound our assumptions about the capabilities of the ancient world. The context of its discovery only deepens the enigma. The shipwreck lay undisturbed for centuries on the seabed, preserving its cargo and shielding the mechanism from the elements. It is a poignant reminder of the fragility of human knowledge, how entire lines of technological development can vanish, leaving behind fragments that challenge our understanding. The Antikythera Mechanism is not merely a relic. It is a question, a puzzle that bridges the tangible and the conceptual, inviting us to reconstruct the thought processes, skills, and ambitions of its creators. For modern scientists, engineers, and historians, the device is both inspiring and humbling. Detailed 3D scans and computer models have allowed researchers to recreate its functions, revealing the intricate cycles of lunar and solar movement, and even predicting eclipses years in advance. Yet for every question answered, new mysteries arise. How widely were such devices used? Were there others lost to history? Or was this truly a unique creation? And if this knowledge existed, why did it vanish for nearly 2 millennia before similar mechanical innovations reappeared in medieval Europe? Standing before a reconstruction of the Antikythera Mechanism today, one cannot help but marvel at the confluence of skill, observation, and imagination required to produce it. Its small bronze gears whisper of human curiosity and a desire to comprehend the cosmos. Yet they also remind us of what we may never know. What other secrets lie buried in the sands and waters of the ancient world, lost to decay, disaster, or simple neglect? How many discoveries await that could, like this mechanism, rewrite our understanding of history, technology, and human capability? The Antikythera Mechanism remains a testament to the mysteries of invention and knowledge. It is a bridge across millennia, linking us to minds that sought to measure, predict, and understand the heavens. And as we trace its gears, follow its inscriptions, and reconstruct its motions, we are reminded that some questions are not meant for final answers. They exist to challenge, to inspire, and to leave us wondering what else might lie hidden, waiting patiently for the explorers who dare to look beneath the surface of history. From the precise bronze gears of the Antikythera Mechanism, which whisper of an advanced understanding of the cosmos long before similar machines appeared elsewhere, we now journey to a land of stone and mystery, rolling hills and savannas in the heart of southern Africa. Here stand the great Zimbabwe ruins, a sprawling city of stone that has endured for centuries, its walls rising with silent authority against the horizon. The name itself, Zimbabwe, meaning houses of stone, evokes both the permanence of the structures and the enigma they present to those who gaze upon them today. The ruins, covering some 722 hectares, are composed of intricately stacked granite blocks, assembled without mortar, forming walls, towers, and enclosures that have resisted the passage of time. The most famous structure, the Great Enclosure, features a massive curved wall, soaring up to 11 meters in height, punctuated by narrow passageways and conical towers. Its sheer scale is awe-inspiring, yet its construction remains perplexing. How did the builders lift and position these enormous stones with such precision, and why did they choose such elaborate designs? Archaeological evidence dates the height of Great Zimbabwe to between the 11th and 15th centuries, a period during which the city thrived as the center of a powerful trading network. Gold, ivory, and other valuable commodities flowed through its markets, reaching far-off lands via Indian Ocean trade routes. Artifacts recovered from the site, ceramic shards, iron tools, and beads of glass and stone, attest to a sophisticated society with far-reaching connections. Yet for all this evidence of commerce and culture, many questions remain. One of the enduring mysteries lies in the purpose and meaning of the stone constructions. Some scholars suggest that the great enclosure served as a royal compound, a residence for kings and elites. Others propose ceremonial or religious functions, pointing to the precise layout and orientation of walls and towers. The presence of soapstone figurines, some depicting birds and other animals, adds another layer of speculation. Were these symbolic guardians, totems of power, or markers of spiritual beliefs? The truth, much like the walls themselves, is obscured by time. The architectural techniques of Great Zimbabwe continue to captivate researchers. The walls are built in courses, each stone carefully shaped to interlock with its neighbors, yet no mortar was used. This dry stone technique produces structures that are remarkably stable, capable of withstanding centuries of erosion and even seismic activity. Some theorists wonder if lost construction knowledge was at play, methods perhaps passed down through generations but never written, never recorded, leaving only the enduring monuments as proof. For centuries, outsiders underestimated and even denied the achievements of Great Zimbabwe. Early European explorers and colonial authorities often dismissed the ruins as the work of foreign or mythical civilizations, unable to credit the local Shona people with such sophisticated construction. Archaeological study has since corrected these misconceptions, firmly attributing the site to indigenous African builders. Yet the scale and intricacy of the ruins continue to inspire questions. How did a society without metal tools achieve such precision and enduring architecture? What social and organizational structures allowed for the mobilization of labor, materials, and expertise at such a scale? The symbolic and aesthetic aspects of the ruins add to their enigmatic nature. The curving walls of the great enclosure, for example, create a sense of rhythm and movement, guiding the eye along their flowing lines. The conical towers, thought to be granaries or ceremonial symbols, punctuate the skyline, evoking a sense of both order and mystery. Could these elements have been intended to convey cosmological knowledge, spiritual authority, or societal hierarchy? Or were they purely functional, designed to protect and store? The absence of definitive records leaves these interpretations open, inviting speculation and wonder. More speculative theories have also emerged. Some suggest that the layout of the city encodes astronomical or geometric principles, perhaps reflecting a sophisticated understanding of mathematics or the cosmos. Others imagine that Great Zimbabwe was a repository of hidden knowledge, a city whose secrets were deliberately encoded in stone and ritual practice, awaiting discovery by those attuned to its symbols. While these ideas remain conjectural, they underscore the compelling allure of a site that continues to challenge our assumptions about the past. Walking among the ruins today, the visitor cannot help but sense both the grandeur and the mystery of Great Zimbabwe. The sunlight strikes the granite at different angles throughout the day, revealing textures, shadows, and hidden corners that seem almost alive with history. One can imagine the bustling markets, the ceremonies, and the rhythms of daily life that once animated these stones. And yet, despite centuries of study, the city retains its capacity to astonish and provoke reflection. Great Zimbabwe, like the Antikythera Mechanism, invites us to consider the limits of our knowledge and the resilience of human creativity. It reminds us that civilizations can rise to astonishing heights, leaving behind monuments that challenge our understanding, and that even in the absence of written records, architecture itself can speak. As we stand amidst the towering walls and sweeping enclosures, one cannot help but ask, what other knowledge, other methods, other secrets might the stones conceal? How much have we truly understood about the lives, beliefs, and ingenuity of the people who built this remarkable city? And perhaps most compellingly, if entire societies and their achievements can fade from memory, how many other wonders of the past remain hidden, waiting silently for those who are willing to look? The Great Zimbabwe ruins endure as a testament to human ambition, skill, and mystery, a reminder that even in places thoroughly explored, history can retain its capacity to surprise, to challenge, and to chill the imagination. From the enduring stone walls of Great Zimbabwe, monuments to a society both sophisticated and enigmatic, we now move north to the heart of the Roman Empire, where mystery takes the form of small, intricate objects that continue to baffle archaeologists. These are the Roman Dodecahedrons, bronze or stone 12-sided polyhedra, hollow and perforated with circular holes on each face, varying in size from a few centimeters to over 10 centimeters in diameter. Found scattered across Europe, from Gaul to Germany, they date from the 2nd to the 4th centuries CE, yet their purpose remains a subject of debate. At first glance, the objects are deceptively simple. Each dodecahedron is carefully cast, symmetrical, and sometimes adorned with small knobs at the vertices. The precision suggests skilled craftsmanship, yet no written records explain why these objects were created or how they were used. Their ubiquity and distribution across the Roman world indicate that they were not unique curiosities, but items of repeated design, perhaps even common tools or ceremonial objects. But for what purpose? Nobody can say with certainty. Scholars have offered a range of explanations, grounded in archaeology and Roman history. Some suggest that the dodecahedrons served as measuring devices, used by surveyors or architects for calculating distances or aligning structures. Others propose a practical role in textile production, perhaps for calibrating the thickness of yarn or knitting gloves, a theory supported by the different-sized holes in each face. Yet, despite these plausible ideas, no conclusive evidence has been found, leaving room for interpretation and speculation. What makes the dodecahedrons particularly intriguing is their uniformity across vast regions of the Roman Empire, coupled with their enigmatic function. If they were simply practical tools, one might expect some documentation or references in Roman texts, yet none exist. Could they have been objects of ritual significance, used in ceremonies or divination? Their symmetrical forms, precise geometry, and mysterious appearance have inspired theories that reach beyond the mundane. Some suggest that they were linked to religious practices, perhaps objects used by druids or local cults within the empire, symbolic tools whose meaning has been lost to history. The geometric perfection of the dodecahedrons also raises questions about the knowledge and intentions of their creators. In an era without modern mathematics, the ability to produce 12-sided hollow objects with such consistency implies a sophisticated understanding of form and proportion. Were they exercises in craftsmanship, demonstrations of skill meant to impress or signify status? Or did the very act of creating such objects carry symbolic weight, encoding meaning in their geometry that we can no longer decode? Adding to the mystery is the variation in size and design. Some dodecahedrons are small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, while others are significantly larger. The holes also vary in diameter, suggesting an adjustable or functional purpose. Yet no pattern clearly indicates how they were used. nor has a replica experiment definitively reproduced their original function. Every discovery prompts new questions, highlighting the tension between observable craftsmanship and unknown intention. Fringe theories abound, inviting the imagination to stretch beyond historical pragmatism. Some speculate that the dodecahedrons were astronomical tools, possibly designed to calculate angles or track celestial events, echoing the precision found in artifacts like the Antikythera Mechanism. Others propose that they were toys or objects for teaching geometry, though this seems insufficient to account for their widespread distribution and complex design. Each theory, whether practical or speculative, underscores the enduring allure of these small but intricate relics of the Roman world. The context of their discovery adds another layer of intrigue. Found often in isolation, buried in rural settlements or along ancient trade routes, the dodecahedrons seem to appear without accompaniment, almost as if placed deliberately to be discovered or lost, waiting for centuries until chance brings them back to light. This solitary presence makes their interpretation difficult, inviting both caution and curiosity. Were they sacred objects, functional devices, or something else entirely, now lost to memory? To hold a Roman dodecahedron in the hand is to experience the paradox of the ancient world, a creation of exquisite precision whose purpose is completely unknown. The cool bronze or stone is smooth, the geometry precise, and yet the mind cannot complete the story. Like the towering walls of Great Zimbabwe, they speak to human ingenuity, organization, and the desire to create objects that endure. But they also whisper of knowledge lost, practices vanished, and mysteries that time has carefully preserved. And so, as we examine these small polyhedra, one is compelled to ask, what knowledge did the Romans possess that has escaped our records? How many everyday objects from the past carried meaning or function that we can no longer perceive? And more broadly, what other subtle artifacts lie buried beneath the soil, silent witnesses to human skill, thought, and imagination, waiting to be unearthed, examined, and perhaps forever remain unexplained? The Roman dodecahedrons remain a testament to the ingenuity and enigma of human history. Small in scale but vast in mystery, they challenge our assumptions about the Roman world, reminding us that even within civilizations we believe we understand, secrets persist, silent, geometric, and eternally perplexing. From the small, meticulously crafted Roman dodecahedrons, objects whose precise purpose continues to elude us, we now shift across continents and centuries to a vast and arid landscape where human ingenuity is etched directly into the desert itself. In the sweeping sands and rocky plateaus of the Middle East, stretching across Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and parts of Iraq, lie enigmatic structures known as desert kites. Viewed from the ground, they may appear as faint lines or shallow embankments, but from above, their scale and precision are staggering. Massive geometric patterns stretching for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of meters, converging into what seem like enormous traps. The desert kites are essentially stone-built or earth-formed enclosures, often composed of long converging walls leading into a corral-like space. From the air, they take the form of enormous V-shapes, Y-shapes, or more complex polygons, some incorporating multiple funnels and chambers. Early aerial photographs, captured during reconnaissance flights in the 20th century, first revealed the extraordinary size and intricacy of these constructions. Only then did the desert yield its secret, a vast and deliberate manipulation of the landscape by human hands, dating back to the Neolithic period, approximately 6,000 to 8,000 years ago. Archaeologists generally agree that the desert kites were used for hunting, functioning as traps to capture large herds of game animals. The long, tapering arms would guide animals into the central enclosure, where hunters could efficiently contain or kill them. Evidence from surrounding regions suggests that gazelles, oryx, and other ungulates were the primary targets. Yet despite the relative plausibility of this explanation, numerous questions remain. Some kites are so massive that they would have required hundreds, if not thousands, of people to construct. How were these coordinated efforts organized in societies that, by all indications, were still largely nomadic? What tools and techniques allowed for such precise, large-scale engineering across unforgiving terrain? Even more perplexing is the sheer number and distribution of these structures. In some regions, kites appear in clusters, forming networks that span dozens of kilometers. Were these part of a regional hunting strategy, a form of territorial demarcation, or perhaps something even more symbolic? The designs vary. Some kites have multiple exits, others are circular or rectangular, and a few contain internal divisions whose purpose is unclear. The lack of written records or associated settlements leaves their exact function tantalizingly out of reach. The mystery deepens when we consider the logistical and social implications of these constructions. Coordinating the labor to move stones or shape embankments over such distances requires not only organization, but also a shared knowledge of geometry and spatial planning. Did the creators of the desert kites operate within a structured hierarchy, or was this knowledge communal, passed orally from one generation to the next? And if hunting was the primary purpose, were these tools solely practical, or did they carry ceremonial or ritual significance as well? Speculative theories have emerged to account for some of the anomalies in the desert kite's design. Some researchers have suggested that their scale and layout could indicate astronomical or calendrical purposes, aligning with solstices, lunar cycles, or notable celestial bodies. Could the desert kites have been multifunctional, blending practical hunting with observation of the heavens? Others propose that the kites served as training grounds, social gathering points, or even ritualized landscapes meant to reinforce community identity and cohesion. In the absence of direct evidence, these interpretations remain tentative, but they underscore the ingenuity and sophistication of the societies that built them. A few kites display features that challenge simple explanations. Some have curved arms or irregular angles that would appear counterproductive if their sole function were to funnel animals efficiently. Others incorporate secondary corrals or chambers whose purpose is difficult to interpret. Were these modifications later additions, or did they reflect evolving hunting strategies? Could some of these structures have served symbolic or spiritual roles, perhaps connected to seasonal cycles, ancestral veneration, or territorial claims? The desert keeps its secrets closely guarded, offering glimpses but rarely answers. The landscape itself amplifies the sense of mystery. The arid plains and rocky outcrops surrounding the kites seem almost otherworldly, and the enormous scale of the constructions is difficult to appreciate from the ground. Flying over them, one sees lines stretching like veins across the desert, converging in ways that appear almost deliberate, almost intentional beyond necessity. It is as though the desert itself was co-opted into a canvas of human ingenuity, each kite a brushstroke in a monumental, millennia-old design. Intriguingly, the desert kites often appear in proximity to other ancient sites, burial mounds, stone circles, or remnants of early villages, hinting at a broader cultural and ritual landscape. This raises further questions. Were the kites part of a wider network of ceremonial or economic infrastructure? Did they serve as landmarks or points of communication across vast stretches of otherwise featureless terrain? And what does their persistence through thousands of years tell us about the resilience of human intention etched into the environment? For those who study them, desert kites are as much about human imagination as they are about hunting or survival. They speak to the ability of early societies to transform their environment on a monumental scale, to impose geometry and function upon the natural world. Yet the questions linger. How many more of these constructions lie hidden under shifting sands, their designs lost until aerial or satellite observation reveals them anew? How many practical, spiritual, or symbolic purposes have been lost to time, leaving only tantalizing traces for us to interpret? As we contemplate the desert kites from above, their vast arms reaching across arid landscapes, we are confronted with the ingenuity and mystery of early human societies. These structures are silent, yet they communicate the ambition, coordination, and imagination of people who lived thousands of years ago, shaping the desert in ways that endure long after their creators vanished. They remind us that even in the most unforgiving environments, human curiosity, collaboration, and creativity can leave traces that defy comprehension. And so, as we trace the lines of the desert kites across the sand, one cannot help but wonder, what other monumental endeavors lie hidden in plain sight, shaped by hands that have long since returned to dust? How many secrets of human innovation and culture have been swallowed by time, only to be glimpsed through the occasional fragment or aerial survey? And perhaps most hauntingly, if civilizations could create such enduring and enigmatic works in one of the harshest landscapes on Earth, what else remains concealed, waiting for the eyes and minds capable of seeing it? The desert kites endure as a testament to the intersection of necessity, ingenuity, and mystery, a reminder that even the most remote and desolate landscapes can bear witness to human ambition, leaving behind questions that continue to chill, fascinate, and inspire awe across the millennia. From the vast geometric patterns etched across the deserts of the Middle East, we now turn our gaze to the highlands of South America, where mist-shrouded mountains cradle the remnants of a people as enigmatic as the landscapes they inhabited. These were the Chachapoya, often called the Cloud People, who for centuries thrived in the cloud forests of northern Peru. Their name, whispered in the dense fog that clings to jagged peaks and deep valleys, evokes both the mystery and isolation of a culture that has left behind more questions than answers. The terrain itself is formidable. Steep cliffs, verdant ravines, and dense vegetation create natural fortresses, difficult to navigate and even more challenging to inhabit. Yet within this misted wilderness, the Chachapoya carved a remarkable civilization. They built fortified cities, ceremonial complexes, and cliffside dwellings, most famously Cuelap, a massive stone citadel perched atop a ridge nearly 3,000 meters above sea level. Its walls rise to nearly 20 meters, enclosing over 400 circular stone structures, some of them intricately decorated with geometric friezes and carved motifs that hint at a sophisticated aesthetic sensibility. The sheer scale and precision of the constructions in such a remote and rugged environment speak to ingenuity, determination, and a profound understanding of their landscape. Despite the architectural marvels, the Chachapoya remain elusive in historical records. They were eventually conquered by the Inca in the late 15th century, yet the surviving chronicles offer only fragmentary glimpses of their society, their beliefs, and their rituals. Archaeological evidence, however, paints a picture of a people with complex social structures, advanced building techniques, and unique funerary practices. Towers and cliffside tombs, many containing mummified remains, suggest a reverence for ancestors and a spiritual relationship with the surrounding mountains. Yet many of these mummies were looted or destroyed before careful study could occur, leaving holes in the story of a civilization that once flourished in clouds and mist. One of the most compelling mysteries of the Chachapoya lies in their sudden disappearance from historical prominence. While conquest and assimilation by the Inca played a role, other factors, disease, environmental pressures, and internal conflict, likely contributed. By the time Spanish chroniclers arrived in the region, the once powerful Cloud People were reduced to scattered communities, their culture fragmented, their cities abandoned. How did such a resilient and adaptive society capable of thriving in extreme conditions, succumb so thoroughly within a few generations? And why does so little tangible evidence remain, despite the imposing scale of their constructions? The Chachapoya also leave behind questions about their artistry and symbolic expression. The stone friezes at Cuelap and other sites depict warriors, birds, and geometric patterns, sometimes arranged in sequences that suggest meaning, ritual, or storytelling. Some researchers have speculated that these motifs held cosmological significance, encoding knowledge of the stars, seasons, or spiritual beliefs. Others propose they marked social hierarchies, clan affiliations, or ceremonial events. Yet no written language has survived, no Rosetta Stone to guide modern understanding, leaving these intricate symbols tantalizingly opaque. Even more puzzling are the Chachapoya's cliffside tombs and sarcophagi. Carved directly into rock faces and ledges, they are often inaccessible without specialized climbing skills, suggesting that burial practices were designed to be hidden, protected, or perhaps to mark a connection between the living and the spiritual world above the clouds. Some tombs contain mummies wrapped in textiles dyed with vibrant pigments, while others include elaborate grave goods, offering a glimpse of both ritual and material sophistication. Could these practices hint at a belief system attuned to both nature and the afterlife? And if so, what cosmology guided a civilization that thrived far above the valleys below? Speculative theories abound. Some researchers have suggested that the Chachapoya's remote mountain settlements and defensive architecture reflect not only adaptation to the environment, but also a strategic response to external threats, possibly rival groups or early colonial incursions. Others propose that the Cloud People engaged in spiritual or shamanic practices that left no material trace beyond their constructions, further deepening the mystery. Fringe theories even suggest that some Chachapoya sites were designed to align with celestial events or energy points within the landscape, though evidence remains circumstantial. What is clear is that the combination of isolation, ingenuity, and ritualization created a culture that defies easy classification. Travelers who venture into these cloud forests today describe a sense of timelessness and awe. The mist swirls around terraces, walls, and towers, revealing glimpses of stone structures partially reclaimed by nature. The dense vegetation, the steep drops, and the narrow pathways create an almost ethereal atmosphere, as if one has stepped into a forgotten world. Standing amidst these ruins, it is difficult not to feel the presence of the Cloud People, lingering in the fog, in the echo of footsteps along stone stairways, and in the silent gaze of carved figures staring out from walls long abandoned. Even modern archaeology struggles to keep pace with the mysteries of the Chachapoya. Dense forest, erosion, and landslides conceal and destroy much of their heritage, while remote locations limit systematic exploration. Every new discovery, a previously undocumented tomb, a cluster of circular dwellings, or fragments of textile, provides insights, yet raises further questions. How did the Cloud People coordinate large construction projects in such rugged terrain? What knowledge of engineering, social organization, or astronomy allowed them to flourish where few others could? And what aspects of their civilization were lost entirely to time, leaving behind only the haunting silhouettes of their architecture? Ultimately, the mystery of the Chachapoya lies not only in what remains, but in what has been lost. The Cloud People remind us that human history is not a continuous, unbroken narrative, but a tapestry of civilizations, some thriving and disappearing without a trace in written record. Their legacy, carved in stone and hidden in fog, challenges us to look beyond the surface, to interpret not just artifacts and ruins, but the lives, choices, and beliefs of those who created them. As we wander through the terraces and tombs, the mountains shrouded in mist, we are confronted with questions that endure. How many secrets remain concealed in the forests and cliffs, waiting to be uncovered? What knowledge, rituals, or artistry of the Chachapoya will we never fully understand? And perhaps most hauntingly, what does it mean for us today that a civilization so adaptive, creative, and enduring could vanish so completely, leaving only the echoes of their presence among the clouds? The Cloud People continue to inspire awe, curiosity, and a profound sense of wonder. Their story, fragmented, obscured, and tantalizing, reminds us that history is not only recorded in texts or artifacts, but in the landscapes and ruins that endure, whispering mysteries to those patient enough to listen, and leaving questions that chill, captivate, and compel us to imagine what lies beyond the fog. From the cloud-draped highlands of the Chachapoya, where mist and forest guard the secrets of the Cloud People, we now descend to the high plains of the Andes, where another enigma awaits, one carved in stone on a scale that continues to baffle archaeologists, engineers, and explorers alike. This is Tiahuanaco, also spelled Tiwanaku, a sprawling archaeological site near the southern shores of Lake Titicaca in modern-day Bolivia. Its monumental structures rise from the flat expanse of the Altiplano, their precision and scale evoking awe and provoking questions about a civilization whose origins and achievements remain shrouded in mystery. The site spans several square kilometers, encompassing pyramidal mounds, ceremonial platforms, and intricately carved gateways. Among the most striking is the Gateway of the Sun, a single monolithic arch adorned with bas-reliefs depicting figures, symbols, and intricate geometric patterns. Its stonework is precise, the carvings sharp and symmetrical, yet the craftsmanship appears to exceed the technological expectations for its era. How were these massive blocks quarried, transported, and perfectly fitted together, some weighing several tons, without the wheels, pulleys, or tools we take for granted today? Tiahuanaco is believed to have been the center of a complex society that thrived between roughly 400 CE and 1000 CE, though some researchers argue that its origins may stretch back even further, possibly to 1500 BCE. Archaeological evidence suggests a highly organized urban culture with advanced agricultural systems, including raised fields that allowed cultivation in the harsh Andean environment. The sophistication of these hydraulic and irrigation networks points to a civilization capable of manipulating both land and water on a scale that rivals contemporary urban centers elsewhere in the world. Yet despite these impressive achievements, much about Tiahuanaco remains enigmatic. The purpose of its monumental architecture is only partially understood. Some structures, such as the pyramidal mounds, may have served ceremonial or religious functions, while others appear aligned with solar and astronomical events. Scholars have long noted the precise orientation of certain buildings relative to solstices, suggesting that the site may have functioned as a cosmological observatory, a calendar, or a center for ritual activity linked to the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. Could Tiahuanaco have been not only a city, but also a sacred landscape, designed to mirror the heavens above? The megalithic blocks themselves raise even more profound questions. Some stones weigh over 130 tons, their surfaces smoothed and edges so tightly fitted that even a blade cannot be inserted between them. Such precision implies tools, techniques, and knowledge that remain difficult to reconcile with the historical record of pre-Columbian engineering. How did the builders transport these stones across uneven terrain and place them with such exactitude? Were there ramps, levers, or methods now lost to time? Or does Tiahuanaco hint at a level of technical knowledge and organization that challenges our understanding of ancient civilizations in the Andes? Adding to the mystery are the enigmatic carvings and statues scattered across the site. The Ponce monolith, a life-sized figure carved from a single stone, bears motifs resembling snakes, jaguars, and abstract geometric symbols. Some interpret these as representations of deities, cosmological principles, or mythological narratives. The depictions suggest a complex belief system, one attuned not only to the natural environment, but to a symbolic and spiritual cosmology that we can only glimpse through stone and earth. What did these symbols mean to the people who carved them? What stories, rituals, or knowledge did they encode in these monumental works? Tiahuanaco's location itself adds to its mystique. Situated at over 3,800 meters above sea level, the city occupies a harsh, wind-swept plateau, far removed from the fertile valleys below. Its elevation raises practical questions about how a large population sustained itself, especially considering the harsh climate and limited oxygen. Yet the inhabitants engineered sophisticated agricultural terraces and irrigation systems, transforming an inhospitable environment into a cradle of civilization. Could the site's elevation and isolation have been chosen deliberately, perhaps for ritualistic, defensive, or astronomical purposes? Or did the Andes' dramatic geography inspire the city's unique design and layout? Speculative theories have naturally emerged around Tiahuanaco. Some fringe researchers have suggested that the precision of the stonework and the alignment of the structures imply knowledge of advanced engineering or even lost technologies. Others propose that the city's builders may have possessed astronomical or mathematical understanding far beyond what is documented for their era. A few theories even venture into the realm of the extraordinary, suggesting that Tiahuanaco may have been influenced by now-lost civilizations, cultural exchanges, or even concepts that challenge conventional chronology. While evidence for such claims is limited, the sheer magnitude and sophistication of Tiahuanaco invite contemplation of possibilities that stretch beyond conventional narratives. Explorers and archaeologists who visit the site today often describe a sense of awe and vertigo, standing before walls of impossibly large stones, gazing at ceremonial platforms, or walking through intricately carved gateways. One cannot help but feel the presence of a civilization whose knowledge and ambition echo across centuries. The combination of scale, precision, and artistry creates an almost mystical atmosphere, as if the very stones themselves hold memories of the people who built them, memories we are only beginning to decipher. Even modern technology has yet to unlock all the secrets of Tiahuanaco. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, and archaeological excavation continue to reveal previously unknown structures, hidden terraces, and complex networks of roads and canals. Each discovery adds nuance, but also raises more questions. How much of the city remains buried beneath centuries of sediment, wind, and erosion? What rituals, technologies, or knowledge have been lost entirely to time? And what would understanding these secrets tell us about the people who shaped one of the most extraordinary cities in the ancient world? Ultimately, the mystery of Tiahuanaco is not just about its monumental architecture or engineering feats. It is about the human imagination and ambition that gave rise to a city capable of inspiring awe millennia later. It challenges us to reconsider assumptions about ancient societies, their capacity for organization, their understanding of the cosmos, and there to transform harsh landscapes into centers of cultural and spiritual significance. As we contemplate the gates, terraces, and monolithic sculptures of Tiahuanaco, one is left with profound questions. Who were the architects of this city, and what drove them to achieve such monumental precision? How much knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and ritual has been lost, leaving only the stones as evidence? And perhaps most hauntingly, what other civilizations, hidden in plain sight or buried beneath the earth, might challenge our understanding of history in ways as profound as Tiahuanaco does today? Tiahuanaco endures as a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and mystery. Its stones speak to us across centuries, inviting awe, reflection, and a recognition that some enigmas are meant not for easy answers, but for the slow, careful contemplation of those willing to explore the boundaries of the known and to imagine what lies beyond. From the high plains of the Andes, where Tiahuanaco rises as a monumental testament to human ambition and precision, we now travel to one of the most remote places on Earth, a windswept volcanic island in the South Pacific, known today as Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Here, amidst towering stone statues that have captured the imagination of generations, lies another enigma, quieter yet equally profound. The Rongorongo script, an undeciphered system of glyphs that continues to defy understanding and invites speculation about the lost knowledge of its creators. Easter Island is isolated by more than 3,500 kilometers of ocean, its cliffs battered by wind and waves, its fertile valleys limited, its forests long decimated. Yet, within this challenging landscape, the Rapa Nui people developed a remarkable culture, best known for the moai, the colossal stone statues that dot the island. Fewer, however, appreciate the subtler, yet equally mysterious, legacy left in the form of wooden tablets, staffs, and other artifacts inscribed with the flowing, abstract glyphs known as Rongorongo. The script is engraved in undulating lines, often read in a unique boustrophedon pattern, alternating direction from line to line, and consisting of hundreds of distinct symbols depicting humans, animals, plants, and geometric forms. The tablets themselves are fragile, carved from native wood, and survive in only a few dozen examples scattered across museums and private collections worldwide. Radiocarbon dating and historical accounts suggest that Rongorongo was in use at least by the 18th century, possibly earlier, though its origins remain unclear. Some scholars argue that it was developed independently by the Rapa Nui people, while others speculate about external influences, perhaps from Polynesian voyagers or contact with other seafaring cultures. Yet no definitive evidence supports these theories, leaving the script suspended between possibility and mystery. Attempts to decipher Rongorongo have met with limited success. Linguists, cryptographers, and historians have noted recurring patterns that suggest the glyphs encode language, or perhaps mnemonic, ritual, or calendrical information. Certain sequences appear repetitive, hinting at structured rules or even numerical notation, yet no Rosetta Stone exists to bridge the gap between glyph and meaning. Could Rongorongo be a complete writing system, akin to the scripts of the Old World, or is it instead a complex symbolic or ceremonial code, understood fully only by those initiated into the cultural or spiritual knowledge of the island? The historical context of Rongorongo adds layers of intrigue. By the time European explorers arrived in the 18th century, much of Easter Island's population had been decimated by disease, slave raids, and internal conflict. Oral traditions suggest that knowledge of the script was already waning, and by the 19th century, writing had largely disappeared from the island. What knowledge, stories, or rituals were lost along with it? What insights about Rapa Nui cosmology, governance, or history remain locked within these fragile wooden tablets, waiting for a key we may never possess? Adding to the mystery is the correlation between Rongorongo and other aspects of Rapa Nui culture. Some scholars have suggested that the glyphs may relate to agricultural cycles, lunar calendars, or genealogical records, while others propose ritualistic or religious functions. The glyphs' shapes, often anthropomorphic or zoomorphic, imply symbolic meaning, but without contemporary explanation, interpretation is speculative. Could Rongorongo have been a repository of spiritual knowledge, a mnemonic device for priests or chieftains, or even a method of preserving historical memory in a society without widespread literacy? The act of engraving the glyphs itself raises questions about technique and intent. Many of the surviving tablets are carved with remarkable precision, suggesting a skilled artisan or scribe, attentive to both form and pattern. Were these individuals specialists, custodians of sacred knowledge, or communal participants in the preservation of memory? And why was such a system created in isolation, on an island where resources were scarce and environmental challenges extreme? The very existence of Rongorongo suggests a people capable of remarkable abstraction, patience, and cultural sophistication. Speculative theories have naturally emerged around the script. Some suggest that Rongorongo encodes cosmological knowledge, mapping the movement of stars, the tides, or celestial cycles essential to navigation and survival. Others propose that it represents a lost Polynesian language or a hybrid of local dialects and oral tradition, formalized into a visual system for posterity. Fringe hypotheses even posit connections to external civilizations, though evidence for such claims remains elusive and controversial. Yet what is undeniable is the ability of Rongorongo to provoke wonder, to hint at a knowledge system whose meaning has eluded even the most diligent researchers. The island itself intensifies the sense of mystery. Moai statues, ceremonial platforms, and stone paths intersect the landscape in ways that suggest deliberate planning, ritual alignment, or symbolic representation. Rongorongo appears in this same context: subtle, intricate, often overshadowed by the massive statues, yet deeply integral to the culture that produced them. The glyphs may have been intimately tied to ceremony, authority, or cosmology, providing a written counterpoint to the monumental and oral traditions that dominate Rapa Nui archaeology. For modern observers, holding a Rongorongo tablet is to encounter history in a tactile and intimate way. The grain of the wood, the depth of the incisions, and the flowing rhythm of the glyphs create a direct connection to individuals who lived, observed, and recorded their world centuries ago. Each symbol, carved painstakingly, evokes a human presence lost to time, a mind attempting to preserve meaning amidst isolation, upheaval, and eventual cultural disruption. And yet, for all the work of linguists, cryptographers, and anthropologists, Rongorongo remains undeciphered. Each attempted translation raises as many questions as it answers. How did this system develop independently in one of the most isolated islands in the world? How much knowledge has been irretrievably lost, erased by disease, environmental collapse, and colonial contact? And what insights into human creativity, cognition, and communication might be hidden in these small wooden tablets, waiting for a breakthrough that may never come? Ultimately, the Rongorongo script is a testament to human ingenuity, imagination, and the fragility of knowledge. It reminds us that even in remote isolation, societies can develop complex systems of recording, thinking, and expressing meaning, systems that challenge our understanding of history and cultural evolution. And as we gaze upon the tablets today, we are left with the same haunting questions that have inspired generations of researchers. What stories, histories, and cosmologies are encoded in these glyphs, and how many of them will remain forever beyond our comprehension? The Easter Island Rongorongo script endures as a silent witness to a vanished world, a fragment of human intellect preserved in wood and symbol. It challenges, mystifies, and captivates, leaving us to ponder the depth of lost knowledge and the mysteries that continue to linger quietly on one of the most isolated islands on Earth. From the remote Pacific island of Rapa Nui, where the Rongorongo script whispers of a vanished culture and secrets carved in wood, we now turn back to the heart of the Andes, descending into the rugged hills overlooking the ancient city of Cusco in Peru. Here, perched on a strategic ridge, lies Sacsayhuamán, a citadel of massive stone walls whose scale, precision, and construction continue to inspire awe and raise questions about the ingenuity of the people who built them. The walls themselves are immediately striking. Gigantic limestone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, are fitted together with such extraordinary precision that not even a blade can be inserted between them. The surfaces are meticulously smoothed, the edges angled to create complex, interlocking patterns, and the walls rise in imposing terraces that dominate the landscape. From a distance, they appear almost sculpted out of the mountains themselves, as though the stones were grown rather than quarried, shaped, and assembled. Sacsayhuamán is generally attributed to the Inca civilization, which flourished in the 15th and early 16th centuries. Historical accounts describe the citadel as a fortress and ceremonial center, strategically positioned to guard Cusco, the empire's capital. Yet much about its construction remains unexplained. How did the Inca move such enormous stones, some quarried from distances of several kilometers, across steep and uneven terrain? What techniques allowed them to shape and fit blocks of such irregular forms with astounding precision, without mortar or modern machinery? Archaeologists have proposed a range of plausible methods, from the use of ramps and levers to careful chiseling and trial and error fitting. Experiments suggest that large groups of workers could, with careful coordination, manipulate blocks into place. Yet even these reconstructions cannot fully account for the precision and efficiency of the assembly, nor the smooth, polished finish of each stone. Some of the blocks interlock in irregular shapes that seem to defy geometric convention, yet fit together flawlessly, creating walls capable of withstanding earthquakes, common in this seismically active region. Was this purely the result of trial and engineering skill? Or might there have been techniques, now lost, that the builders mastered and never recorded? The sheer scale of the walls is another element that inspires wonder. Stretching over 700 meters and rising several meters high, Sacsayhuamán was designed not merely as a functional fortress, but as a monumental statement of power and ingenuity. The terraces form zigzagging patterns across the hilltop, and the sheer size and complexity suggest that construction required not only physical labor, but advanced planning, organization, and understanding of structural mechanics. How did a society without written engineering manuals coordinate such an enormous project? How did they plan and execute work across multiple teams and generations to achieve such remarkable precision? Beyond the practical, the walls carry symbolic weight. Some researchers suggest that the zigzagging pattern of terraces reflects the profile of a puma, an important symbol in Inca cosmology. Others argue that the terraces, along with the positioning of gates and ceremonial platforms, align with astronomical phenomena such as solstices and equinoxes, hinting at a sacred dimension to the construction. If so, Sacsayhuamán is not merely a fortress, but also a cosmogram, a physical manifestation of the Inca understanding of the universe and their place within it. Yet the mystery deepens when we consider the irregularity and individuality of the stone blocks. No two are identical, and many feature complex shapes that seem almost improvised, yet fit perfectly. Could this reflect a deep intuitive understanding of stone behavior, geometry, and balance passed down through generations of craftsmen? Or were there specialized techniques, lost to time, that allowed the Inca to achieve results that continue to puzzle modern engineers? Some fringe theories speculate on unknown tools, levitation techniques, or even external guidance, though these claims remain speculative. What remains indisputable is that the construction of Sacsayhuamán required not just labor, but an extraordinary combination of vision, skill, and knowledge. The citadel's location also raises intriguing questions. Situated at the confluence of hills overlooking Cusco, Sacsayhuamán commands sweeping views of the surrounding valleys and mountains. Its position was clearly strategic, but was it chosen solely for defense? Or did it also hold spiritual or ceremonial significance? The Inca are known to have integrated landscape and architecture in ways that reflected cosmology and sacred geography. Perhaps Sacsayhuamán was intended as both a fortress and a stage for ritual, a place where power, religion, and engineering converged in a single monumental expression. Even today, the site resonates with a sense of awe and mystery. Walking along the terraces, touching the massive stones, one can imagine the labor, ingenuity, and determination required to shape and fit each block. The walls seem alive with memory, holding the echoes of chants, ceremonies, and the careful planning of a civilization that mastered both landscape and stone. And yet, despite centuries of study, we still cannot fully explain how the Inca achieved such feats, or what the walls may have meant to the people who built them. Speculative possibilities add further layers of intrigue. Some researchers suggest that the walls encode symbolic or astronomical knowledge, perhaps serving as a guide for ritual observances or agricultural cycles. Others note that the irregular, interlocking shapes may have practical seismic purposes, an ingenious method to prevent collapse during earthquakes, though the precision with which they achieved this remains remarkable. And beyond these explanations, there remains a persistent sense of wonder. How did a culture without written engineering texts, wheels, or iron tools accomplish something that challenges even modern construction methods? Sacsayhuamán, like the other sites we have explored, from Tiahuanaco to the Rongorongo tablets, reminds us that history is filled with human ingenuity that defies simple explanation. It forces us to reconsider assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations, the knowledge they possessed, and the methods they used to achieve monumental results. And it challenges us to imagine what may have been lost, techniques, rituals, and wisdom that existed for a fleeting moment in time, now immortalized only in stone. As we stand amidst these massive walls, tracing the smooth contours with our hands, we are confronted with enduring questions. How were these enormous stones transported and shaped with such precision? What planning, tools, and communal knowledge made this possible? And beyond the practical, what cultural, spiritual, or symbolic intentions guided the builders, ensuring that each stone, each terrace, each zigzagging line contributed to a vision far greater than mere fortification? The Sacsayhuamán walls endure as a testament to human ambition, ingenuity, and mystery. They remind us that even in landscapes we think we understand, and within civilizations we believe we know, there exist questions that continue to resist answers. They challenge our assumptions, spark our imagination, and leave us to ponder what other secrets of skill, culture, and knowledge may lie hidden in the stones, waiting for those willing to seek them. From the massive interlocking stones of Sacsayhuamán, where human ingenuity etched precision into the rugged Andean landscape, we now shift across continents and centuries to the shores of New England, to a quiet, tidal riverbank in Massachusetts. Here rests a smaller, less monumental, yet equally enigmatic artifact, Dighton Rock, a 40-ton boulder that has puzzled scholars, historians, and curious visitors for over 3 centuries. Its surface, etched with intricate markings and symbols, is a silent witness to human activity long forgotten, a canvas of mystery that continues to provoke questions about who left these inscriptions and why. Dighton Rock sits at a bend in the Taunton River, where tides rise and fall, sometimes submerging its lower portions, revealing its carvings only partially at any given moment. The surface is pitted and weathered, its grooves and lines a tangled tapestry of human and natural intervention. At first glance, the markings appear as random scratches or natural fissures, but upon closer inspection, one realizes the deliberate nature of many of the etchings, lines forming patterns, symbols that suggest figures, ships, or perhaps letters. The rock is an enigma, as enduring as the river that laps its base, and as elusive as the tides that partially conceal it. The first recorded European encounter with Dighton Rock occurred in the 17th century. Early colonists were fascinated and perplexed, noting the strange designs and speculating on their origins. Since then, the rock has been examined by countless scholars, each offering their own interpretations. Some argue that the carvings are indigenous petroglyphs, created by the native peoples of the region long before European contact, representing spiritual, ceremonial, or calendrical information. Others have proposed more speculative origins, attributing the markings to Norse explorers, Portuguese sailors, or even Chinese voyagers, based on perceived similarities to writing systems or nautical symbols. Archaeological and historical study provides some clarity, yet leaves much unresolved. The indigenous theory holds weight, as numerous petroglyphs along the northeastern coast exhibit stylistic similarities, suggesting continuity of symbolic language among pre-Columbian peoples. Symbols of turtles, serpents, and geometric shapes recur across sites, hinting at cultural or spiritual significance. Could Dighton Rock have been a sacred site, a marker for territorial boundaries, or a storytelling medium, capturing myths, historical events, or genealogical information for generations? Yet even the most plausible theories are complicated by the rock's unique features. The carvings display a variety of depths, widths, and patterns, some so precise that they suggest deliberate technique rather than random natural erosion. Could this indicate multiple periods of engraving, with successive cultures adding their own contributions over centuries? If so, the rock becomes a palimpsest of human history, a layered document whose full meaning may never be completely understood. The rock's interaction with the environment adds another layer of mystery. Subject to tidal cycles, the surface experiences continual erosion, making it difficult to determine which markings are original and which have been shaped or deepened by centuries of weathering. Moreover, early European visitors often recarved or traced the symbols to preserve or emphasize them, introducing an element of human intervention that further complicates interpretation. How much of what we see today reflects the original creator's intent, and how much is the product of subsequent curiosity and modification? Speculative theories have naturally flourished. In the 18th and 19th centuries, some scholars suggested that the inscriptions were Norse runes, left by Viking explorers navigating the Atlantic centuries before Columbus. Others proposed Portuguese navigators, linking the symbols to early maps or reports of Atlantic crossings. In the 20th century, some even posited a pre-Columbian Chinese presence, based on perceived characters resembling Asian writing systems. While mainstream scholarship finds these claims unlikely, the persistence of such theories speaks to the rock's power to ignite imagination and the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries. Interpreting the Dighton rock inscriptions is further complicated by the rock's sheer age and exposure. Estimates of the carving's creation vary widely, from a few hundred years to potentially thousands, depending on whether one attributes them to indigenous peoples, early European visitors, or some other source entirely. Radiocarbon dating is impossible on the stone itself, leaving stylistic analysis and comparative archaeology as the primary tools for investigation. And yet, even these methods provide only partial answers, leaving open the tantalizing possibility that the rock holds stories from an era otherwise undocumented. The rock's symbolism invites reflection. Many of the figures are abstract, yet patterns suggest intentionality. Lines that intersect at precise angles, shapes that echo known motifs from indigenous culture, and figures resembling boats, animals, or human forms. Could these carvings represent migration paths, spiritual beliefs, or historical events? Were they intended to communicate with others across generations? Or were they a private record for a specific community? The absence of accompanying texts or oral accounts leaves these questions hanging, unresolved, and compelling in their ambiguity. Even today, visitors to the site report a sense of quiet wonder and subtle unease. Standing beside the boulder, one can trace the grooves with a finger, imagining the hands that made them centuries ago. The river laps gently at the stone, eroding some carvings while revealing others. The surrounding forest, once home to dense woodlands and now partially cleared, adds to the sense of isolation and historical depth. It is easy to feel a connection to the distant past, to the lives, intentions, and curiosity of those who left their marks here, even as their exact meanings remain elusive. Dighton Rock continues to inspire both scholarly investigation and popular fascination. Its mystery underscores the challenges of interpreting artifacts that straddle the boundaries of human history, natural processes, and time itself. It reminds us that human beings, across centuries and continents, have sought to leave their mark on the world, to record, to communicate, and to assert presence, even when the meaning may later fade into obscurity. Ultimately, the Dighton Rock inscriptions endure as a testament to the persistence of mystery, the layers of human creativity, and the limits of our understanding. They challenge us to consider the ingenuity of past peoples, the resilience of their ideas, and the fragments of culture that survive against the forces of time, weather, and human interference. And as we examine the grooves, shapes, and lines carved into the stone, we are left with the same haunting questions that have persisted for centuries. Who created these inscriptions? What were they trying to convey? And how many secrets of the past lie waiting, hidden in plain sight, beneath the tides of time and memory? Dighton Rock remains a silent enigma, inviting contemplation, sparking curiosity, and reminding us that history is not merely recorded in books or monuments, but in the subtle traces of human thought and intention, etched in stone and whispered across centuries. From the riverbanks of Massachusetts, where Dighton Rock silently bears centuries of human marks and mystery, we now journey far south to the expansive highlands of central Mexico. Here lies Teotihuacan, one of the largest and most enigmatic cities of the ancient world. Its pyramids rise from the flat valley floor in geometric precision, the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the vast Avenue of the Dead stretching for kilometers. Yet beneath the surface, hidden in shadows and silence, lies a secret that has fascinated archaeologists and explorers for decades: the hidden tunnels of Teotihuacan. These subterranean passages are more than simple excavations. Beneath the Pyramid of the Moon, beneath the layers of volcanic rock and centuries of soil, archaeologists discovered narrow, carefully carved tunnels leading into chambers filled with artifacts, human and animal remains, and enigmatic offerings. The tunnels, dark and claustrophobic, extend in labyrinthine patterns, some meticulously aligned with the stars and cardinal points. Entering them is to step into a space where time seems suspended, where the living and the dead converge, and where the intentions of an ancient civilization remain tantalizingly elusive. Teotihuacan thrived between 100 BCE and 550 CE, a cosmopolitan city that may have housed over 100,000 people at its height. It was a center of trade, culture, and religion, but the civilization left no written records explaining the purpose of its most secretive constructions. The tunnels beneath the pyramids, many discovered only in the late 20th century, suggest a sophisticated ritual or ceremonial function. Some archaeologists propose that they served as symbolic underworlds, representing a spiritual journey to mirror the cosmos above, with offerings meant to sustain or honor gods, ancestors, or celestial forces. Could these dark corridors have been stages for initiation rites, spiritual pilgrimages, or ceremonies so sacred that only a select few were permitted entry? Excavations revealed chambers filled with objects whose meaning continues to puzzle experts. Obsidian knives, miniature pyramids, greenstone figurines, and intricately carved masks were arranged with deliberate care. Even animal remains, including jaguars and pumas, were positioned in ways suggesting ritualistic significance rather than simple disposal. The careful arrangement indicates intention an understanding of symbolism, and a level of planning that challenges assumptions about pre-Columbian societies. What was the significance of these offerings? Were they meant to appease deities, represent cosmological principles, or mark milestones in the city's spiritual life? The tunnels themselves pose remarkable engineering questions. Carved beneath immense pyramidal structures, they have endured centuries of shifting earth, seismic activity, and environmental change. How were these passages constructed without the collapse of the overlying structures? How did the builders navigate and plan tunnels extending hundreds of meters below ground, in conditions of darkness and limited ventilation without the tools and technology we rely on today? Such feats suggest not only ingenuity, but also an understanding of geology, architecture, and the natural forces of the region. Speculative theories have emerged around these tunnels, adding layers of intrigue. Some propose that the passages align with astronomical phenomena, connecting chambers to solstices, equinoxes, or celestial observations, effectively turning the tunnels into subterranean observatories. Others suggest that the hidden corridors served as repositories of sacred knowledge or treasure, a secret archive of a civilization whose written language, if it ever existed, has been lost. A few fringe theories even imagine extraterrestrial influence or technologies beyond conventional understanding, though such claims remain highly controversial. Yet the tunnels themselves, silent and unassuming, invite contemplation. What do they reveal about the priorities, beliefs, and worldview of the people who constructed them? Exploration of these subterranean spaces is a delicate endeavor. Archaeologists proceed slowly, mindful of the fragile architecture and the cultural significance of the artifacts within. Each excavation provides new insights, yet often raises more questions than answers. For instance, the discovery of long, narrow shafts beneath the Pyramid of the Sun, aligned with precision to the cardinal points, hints at advanced understanding of astronomy and mathematics, yet their exact purpose remains obscure. Were they designed as ritual conduits, symbolic representations of the underworld, or practical channels for offerings and ceremonies? The tunnels also highlight the complexity of Teotihuacan's urban planning. Above ground, the city follows a meticulously organized grid with residential compounds, temples, and avenues designed for both functional and ceremonial use. Below ground, these hidden passages add a layer of secrecy and ritual sophistication that complements the city's monumental architecture. How did the planners envision the relationship between surface and subterranean structures? Were the tunnels integral to the city's spiritual or political power, a physical manifestation of cosmic order, or a combination of both? Visitors who descend into these dark corridors describe a sense of awe and disorientation. The silence, broken only by footsteps or echoes, emphasizes the isolation and sacred nature of the space. Shadows dance along walls smoothed by ancient hands, and the faint scent of earth and stone evokes centuries of human presence. One can imagine priests, rulers, or shamans navigating these passages in candlelight or torch glow, performing rituals intended to communicate with the gods or channel cosmic energies. What secrets did they whisper into these walls, and what wisdom was encoded in the arrangement of stones, objects, and chambers? Even modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR scanning, and 3D modeling, has revealed only part of the subterranean network. Numerous tunnels and chambers remain unexplored or partially collapsed, their contents unknown. Each new discovery reshapes our understanding of Teotihuacan, yet reinforces the enduring mystery. How many corridors lie hidden beneath the pyramids? And what might they reveal about the civilization that constructed them? What connections exist between these tunnels, the monumental structures above, and the larger cultural, religious, and political landscape of the city? Ultimately, the hidden tunnels of Teotihuacan remind us that history is not always what we see on the surface. Monumental architecture may capture our attention, but it is often in the concealed spaces, the shadows, and the unseen corridors where the most profound mysteries reside. These tunnels speak to human ingenuity, ritual complexity, and a desire to reach beyond the ordinary into the sacred, the symbolic, and perhaps the unknowable. As we peer into these dark passageways, we are confronted with questions that endure. Who planned these tunnels, and what knowledge guided their construction? How did they survive the centuries of natural and human disruption that followed the city's decline? And, most intriguingly, what stories, beliefs, or practices remain encoded in the silent spaces beneath Teotihuacan, waiting to be rediscovered, interpreted, or perhaps forever hidden from human understanding? The tunnels beneath Teotihuacan endure as a testament to both human ambition and mystery. They challenge our assumptions about ancient engineering, urban planning, and spirituality, reminding us that beneath even the most monumental cities, the earth itself may conceal secrets that continue to chill, inspire, and provoke wonder. From the shadowed corridors beneath Teotihuacan, where hidden tunnels speak of rituals, astronomy, and ancient ingenuity, we now journey further south along the western coast of South America to the arid expanse of southern Peru. Here, in a landscape of desert plains and rugged hills, stretches one of the most enigmatic and visually stunning mysteries of the ancient world. The Nazca Lines, a series of geoglyphs etched across the desert floor, visible in their entirety only from the sky. The Nazca Desert is deceptively barren. Its pale brown sands and scattered stones seem, at first glance, unremarkable. Yet, from elevated vantage points or the air above, an extraordinary revelation emerges. Hundreds of lines, geometric shapes, spirals, and colossal depictions of animals and humans, collectively covering hundreds of square kilometers, appear, meticulously carved into the desert surface. There are stylized hummingbirds, monkeys, spiders, and even enigmatic humanoid figures, some stretching over 200 meters in length. The sheer scale is breathtaking, prompting immediate questions. Who created them? How? And for what purpose? The lines are attributed to the Nazca culture, which flourished between 200 BCE and 600 CE. Archaeologists have documented thousands of individual lines, terraces, and trapezoidal forms, made by removing the darker iron oxide-coated stones from the desert surface, revealing the lighter clay beneath. Despite the apparent simplicity of the technique, the execution required extraordinary planning, precision, and a sense of scale that is difficult to reconcile without some method of aerial perspective, or at least careful measurement from the ground. How did a civilization without flying technology or modern surveying tools achieve such exact proportions over immense distances? Many of the geoglyphs appear oriented along astronomical lines, suggesting alignment with solstices, equinoxes, or celestial events. Scholars propose that some lines functioned as ceremonial pathways, guiding pilgrims or participants in ritual processions across the desert, perhaps leading to sacred sites or offering points. Others interpret the geoglyphs as markers for water sources or agricultural calendars, an ancient system designed to manage survival in an arid environment. The logical explanations are compelling yet incomplete. Why choose a medium visible primarily from above? What cultural or spiritual imperative drove the creation of images so large and enduring, spanning entire valleys? The Nazca Lines also raise questions about technological and mathematical sophistication. Maintaining straight lines over several kilometers, creating proportionate animal figures, and preserving their form in a landscape prone to wind and erosion would require planning, measurement, and coordination. Scholars have reconstructed plausible methods using ropes, stakes, and grids, demonstrating that such feats were possible without modern tools. Yet, The intentionality and artistry of the figures suggest a cultural motivation beyond practicality. What messages, beliefs, or myths did these images encode? Were they intended for the gods, ancestors, or celestial beings, visible from some vantage of the divine? Speculative theories naturally flourish around the Nazca Lines, as they have for centuries. Some propose that they are an ancient form of astronomical observatory or a map of celestial bodies. Others suggest ritualistic functions, with figures acting as offerings or symbolic representations of animals central to Nazca cosmology. Fringe interpretations have proposed connections to extraterrestrial visitors, inspired by the aerial perspective required to fully appreciate the designs. While such ideas remain controversial, the persistence of these theories underscores the sense of awe and mystery the geoglyphs evoke. The scale of the lines challenges human perception. From the ground, a line may seem straight or a figure indistinct, but from elevated terrain or the air, the full grandeur is revealed. The desert itself acts as both canvas and archivist, preserving the geoglyphs for centuries through minimal rainfall, dry winds, and a stable climate. Yet, erosion and human interference now threaten their survival, making the study of these designs both urgent and fragile. Could there be additional, undiscovered lines hidden beneath sand, lost to time and natural processes, waiting to expand our understanding of the Nazca people's vision? The geoglyphs' symbolism is as compelling as their scale. The animals depicted, hummingbirds, spiders, monkeys, and more, may have held spiritual or mythological significance, yet their exact meaning is uncertain. Some suggest that the figures functioned as offerings to deities associated with water, fertility, or the desert itself. Others hypothesize that they served as storytelling devices, encoding narratives about the natural world, cosmology, or societal values. What is clear is that the lines were carefully designed and maintained, reflecting not only artistic talent, but deep cultural knowledge and a shared communal purpose. Exploring the Nazca Lines evokes a sense of time suspended. Archaeologists, pilots, and travelers alike describe a profound quiet and stillness across the desert, interrupted only by the wind and the occasional bird. Standing on a hill overlooking the flat expanse, one can trace the contours of the geoglyphs, imagining the meticulous effort required to plan, measure, and execute each line. The desert, while seemingly barren, becomes a stage of human ingenuity, ritual, and imagination, where the intentions of an ancient civilization persist despite millennia of isolation. Modern technology continues to illuminate the mysteries of the Nazca Lines. Satellite imagery, drones, and LiDAR scanning have revealed previously hidden geoglyphs, subtle variations, and patterns imperceptible to the naked eye. These discoveries suggest that the Nazca landscape is far more complex than previously understood, with layers of meaning, symbolism, and purpose awaiting interpretation. How many more lines lie buried beneath centuries of shifting sand? What untold stories of culture, belief, and ritual remain encoded in the desert floor? Ultimately, the Nazca Lines remind us that human creativity can transcend scale, environment, and time. They challenge assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies and the depth of symbolic thought encoded in their monumental works. They provoke awe not only because of their physical dimensions, but because of the enduring questions they pose. How did the Nazca conceive and execute these designs? What knowledge, ritual, or cosmology do they represent? And why have they endured, silent and enigmatic, across centuries of wind, sun, and human curiosity? As we gaze upon the Nazca Lines today, whether from the ground or the sky, we are confronted with the same enduring questions faced by countless explorers before us. What drove a civilization to etch its visions into the earth on such an unimaginable scale? and what secrets of human thought, belief, and ingenuity might still be hidden within these lines, waiting to be uncovered by those patient enough to look beyond the surface? The Nazca Lines endure as a testament to human imagination, ambition, and mystery. They remind us that even in landscapes that appear empty or inhospitable, humans have sought to leave their mark, to communicate across generations, and to reach beyond the ordinary into something transcendent, enigmatic, and awe-inspiring. From the sweeping deserts of southern Peru, where the Nazca Lines etch enigmatic designs across the earth for centuries, we now travel northward across the vast expanse of the Americas, to the dense forests and rolling plains of Minnesota. It is here, in the small township of Kensington, amidst the quiet farmland and towering pines, that one of North America's most debated artifacts rests: the Kensington Runestone. Unlike monumental pyramids or desert geoglyphs, this mystery comes in the form of a modest, weathered slab of gray stone. Yet its carved surface holds the power to challenge long-held assumptions about early exploration of the continent. The stone was reportedly discovered in 1898 by a Swedish immigrant farmer named Olof Oman, while clearing a patch of land near a field. As he broke through the soil, he unearthed a stone partially buried among tree roots. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, but upon closer inspection, its surface revealed an intricate series of runes, characters associated with the medieval Norse world. Deep grooves cut into the stone formed a message describing a journey of exploration by Scandinavian travelers, claiming to have ventured deep into the interior of North America in the year 1362. If authentic, these inscriptions suggest that Norse explorers reached the upper Midwest almost 150 years before Columbus sailed west, and centuries beyond what conventional archaeological evidence has recorded. The stone itself is imposing in subtle ways. Standing just under a meter tall and roughly half a meter wide, it bears an array of runes carved with apparent care and precision. The inscription contains a detailed narrative of the expedition, the names of leaders, the number of men in the party, encounters with indigenous peoples, and the harsh environmental conditions faced along the journey. The craftsmanship of the carvings, combined with the sophistication of the message, has intrigued scholars, linguists, and explorers alike. Could such a document have been created by medieval Norse travelers, lost to the forests of Minnesota until rediscovered centuries later? Or is it a product of more modern imagination, a clever forgery meant to ignite curiosity and controversy? Mainstream historical interpretation initially met the stone with skepticism. The idea that Norse explorers could have penetrated so far inland from their known settlements in Greenland and Newfoundland seemed improbable. Critics pointed to linguistic anomalies in the runes, inconsistencies in the orthography, and the lack of corroborating archaeological evidence. Some argued that the text contained modern Swedish spellings not present in the 14th century, implying a 19th century origin. Others noted that the stone's discovery coincided with a wave of Scandinavian immigration to Minnesota, suggesting that the artifact might have been created to lend a sense of historical gravitas or local pride to the immigrant community. Yet, supporters of the stone's authenticity highlight compelling counterpoints. Linguistic studies have identified elements of medieval Swedish and runic conventions that were obscure or forgotten by the 19th century, which would have been difficult for a modern forger to reproduce accurately. Additionally, the stone references geographic features and conditions consistent with the Minnesota landscape, suggesting detailed local knowledge beyond casual observation. Proponents argue that the Kensington Runestone may indeed reflect an authentic journey by Norse explorers, whose traces remain otherwise undetected due to the fleeting nature of early expeditions and the scarcity of durable artifacts in forested regions. The environment of the stone's discovery adds to the intrigue. Minnesota in the 14th century would have been a dense and challenging wilderness, dominated by forests, rivers, and lakes, with harsh winters capable of testing even the most experienced travelers. How did a small party of explorers navigate this terrain, maintain supplies, and survive long enough to undertake detailed reconnaissance, all while avoiding conflict with the region's indigenous populations? The inscriptions themselves, carved deeply into stone, imply a desire to leave a permanent record, a message to others that they had been there, that their journey mattered, and that their presence could not be erased by time or nature. Speculative theories have proliferated around the Kensington Runestone, fueled as much by its mysterious origins as by its audacious claims. Some suggest it is evidence of pre-Columbian transatlantic contact, expanding the boundaries of known exploration. Others propose the stone served as a marker or boundary for an early settlement, intended to be read by subsequent travelers or explorers. Fringe interpretations even suggest hidden agendas, secret Norse knowledge, forgotten trade routes, or lost alliances with indigenous tribes. Though much of this remains conjectural, the allure of the unknown is undeniable. The stone challenges our assumptions, inviting us to imagine histories that may have unfolded silently, beyond the reach of surviving records. The materiality of the stone further complicates the mystery. Exposure to centuries of soil, moisture, and fluctuating temperatures has weathered the surface, yet the runes remain legible, their lines sharp enough to suggest deliberate preservation. Some analyses indicate that weathering patterns are consistent with a prolonged period of burial, implying the inscriptions were made long before the 19th century. Could this support the notion that the stone is genuinely medieval, hidden from the world until its accidental discovery? Or are these patterns the result of careful imitation by a skilled hand seeking to replicate antiquity? Cultural and historical context offers additional layers for contemplation. Medieval Scandinavians were experienced seafarers, capable of navigating vast ocean distances and enduring harsh climates. The Norse sagas recount expeditions to Vinland and other distant lands, though their historicity remains debated. Could a group of adventurers, motivated by exploration, trade, or curiosity, have ventured far inland from known settlements? If so, what traces did they leave? And why has the archaeological record remained so elusive? The Kensington Runestone may offer a rare, singular whisper of such a journey, preserved in stone rather than parchment or oral history. The stone's discovery also ignites questions about perception and belief. For some, it is a symbol of connection, a tangible link between Europe and the New World before Columbus. For others, it is a reminder of human imagination, the desire to leave evidence of presence and significance. Regardless of its authenticity, the Kensington Runestone demonstrates how a single object can inspire debate, spark investigation, and challenge conventional narratives about history. It forces us to confront the limitations of evidence, the interplay of legend and fact, and the enduring fascination with mysteries that straddle centuries and continents. Walking through the quiet fields of Minnesota today, one can almost imagine the scene. A small band of Norse explorers, axes and provisions in hand, carving runes into a stone to mark their passage through an unknown world. Or perhaps a 19th century farmer, inspired by heritage and curiosity, engraving symbols that echo a lost past. Either vision evokes a profound sense of human connection across time, a desire to be remembered, to communicate, and to leave a mark that endures beyond the fleeting span of life. The Kensington Runestone continues to captivate, its runes etched in gray granite, challenging historians, linguists, and explorers alike. It compels us to ask, who made this stone, and why? Was it truly a record of a 14th century Norse expedition, lost to the forests of the Midwest until rediscovered? Or is it a clever artifact of imagination, bridging continents and eras through the power of storytelling? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, a combination of history, myth, and the enduring human desire to assert presence in a world that often forgets. As we stand before the stone, tracing the carved lines and pondering their meaning, we are reminded that mysteries do not always yield answers easily. They endure, silent and enigmatic, urging us to question, to investigate, and to imagine. The Kensington Runestone is more than a slab of rock. It is a portal into possibilities, a challenge to our understanding of history, and a testament to the enduring allure of human curiosity. It asks us, what else might lie hidden in the forests, fields, and forgotten corners of the world, waiting for those patient enough to uncover secrets that have eluded discovery for centuries? From the dense forests of Minnesota, where the Kensington Runestone stands as a testament to potential pre-Columbian exploration, we now journey southward and deeper into mystery, to the heart of Mesoamerica, a region where ancient civilizations thrived, vanished, and left behind whispers of their knowledge. Among these whispers are the crystal skulls, artifacts that have captured imaginations for over a century, shimmering with the impossible clarity of quartz yet veiled in enigma. Unlike carved stones or monumental architecture, these skulls are compact, highly polished, and disturbingly lifelike. Their hollow eyes seemingly aware, almost sentient, staring across centuries at those who dare to observe them. The skulls vary in size, from delicate handheld specimens to larger, imposing forms that command attention. Each one is carved from a single block of clear or milky quartz, their surfaces so smooth and precise that they defy easy replication by conventional methods. Minute details of facial structure, teeth, and cranial proportions suggest astonishing skill, precision, and an understanding of human anatomy that seems almost impossible given the purported age of some examples. The clearest and most famous, the Mitchell-Hedges skull, measures around 20 centimeters and has been the subject of endless scrutiny, legend, and debate. Claims about the origins of these skulls are as diverse as they are controversial. Some assert they date back to pre-Columbian Mesoamerican civilizations, possibly the Maya, Aztec, or Olmec, suggesting a sophisticated culture of artisans capable of extraordinary craftsmanship. Others trace them to modern forgeries, created in the 19th or 20th century to satisfy collectors' fascination with exotic relics. Despite this, scientific studies have struggled to explain precisely how the skulls were made, particularly those carved from a single block of quartz with no obvious tool marks, visible under traditional light microscopy. Could they have been crafted with technologies or techniques now lost to history? The lore surrounding the skulls is equally compelling. Many researchers and enthusiasts claim that the skulls possess mystical properties, acting as repositories of knowledge, healing energy, or even precognitive powers. Some assert that when multiple skulls are brought together, they resonate with one another, producing measurable electromagnetic effects or heightened psychic phenomena. While mainstream science remains skeptical, these legends persist, growing with each retelling and intertwining with the cultural and spiritual histories of the regions from which the skulls allegedly originate. The earliest documented discovery of a crystal skull in modern times is often attributed to Anna Mitchell-Hedges in the 1920s, found in a temple ruin in Belize. However, skepticism persists regarding the circumstances of its discovery. Records from the time are sparse, inconsistent, or contradictory, raising questions about whether it was unearthed by accident, obtained from a private collection, or even crafted more recently. Despite the uncertainties, the skull's craftsmanship is undeniably extraordinary. Laser scans and microscopic examinations have shown smooth surfaces and symmetrical proportions that challenge the understanding of tool use available to ancient peoples. Could such precision truly have been achieved without modern equipment? Other crystal skulls have surfaced in museums, private collections, and auctions, some clearly originating in 19th century Europe, yet others whose provenance remains elusive. Their physical characteristics vary. Some display fractures and inclusions typical of natural quartz, while others exhibit unnatural uniformity. Across these examples, a recurring theme emerges: a human fascination with the form of the skull itself, a universal symbol of mortality, consciousness, and identity. Why, in so many cultures and contexts, would artisans devote immense time and effort to replicating the human skull in crystal? What significance did these objects hold, and how might they have been used in ceremonial, ritualistic, or even practical contexts? The scientific community has examined the skulls through a variety of lenses, employing scanning electron microscopy, X-ray imaging, and spectroscopy. Some studies suggest that certain skulls show evidence of rotary grinding tools consistent with 19th century European lapidary techniques, implying that at least some artifacts may be modern creations. Yet other skulls defy such categorization. The tools required to carve flawless quartz without shattering it would have to combine extraordinary precision, patience, and skill. Could ancient Mesoamerican civilizations have developed techniques we have yet to rediscover? Or does this suggest an origin entirely outside the conventional archaeological record? Speculative theories abound. Some propose that the skulls were not merely ceremonial objects, but repositories of ancient knowledge encoded with messages from lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial intelligence. Enthusiasts suggest that their electromagnetic properties might be part of an ancient technology or a form of consciousness storage. Others argue the skulls are symbolic, representing the bridge between life and death, the spiritual and the material, the human and the divine. While none of these claims are substantiated scientifically, the enduring fascination reflects the human desire to find meaning in objects that straddle the line between art, artifact, and anomaly. The allure of the crystal skulls is amplified by their almost hypnotic appearance. Light refracts through the quartz in unexpected ways, and the hollow eye sockets, unnervingly realistic, create the impression of observation or even interaction. Scholars note the psychological effect these objects have on viewers, a combination of awe, fear, and reverence. Could the very perception of the skulls have been intended as part of their function, influencing those who gazed upon them with a sense of the sacred or the supernatural? Were they used in rituals to communicate with the spirit world, or as instruments of meditation, healing, or divination? Cultural context adds further depth. Mesoamerican civilizations often depicted death and the afterlife with elaborate symbolism. Skulls were not merely representations of mortality, but were central to cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Could the crystal skulls be a continuation or culmination of this symbolic tradition, elevated by materials that endure for millennia, meant to bridge the earthly and the ethereal? Or are we simply projecting modern fascination onto objects whose original purpose has been lost entirely? The mystery deepens when considering the global dispersion of crystal skulls. Some are housed in major museums, others in private collections, often with incomplete or contested provenance. The movement of these objects through history has introduced further uncertainty. Were they traded across cultures, lost and rediscovered, or deliberately moved to obscure their origins? Each skull carries not only its material weight, but a history of human belief, collection, and interpretation, layering the artifact with centuries of mystery beyond its original creation. Modern exploration of the skulls continues. Advances in imaging technology, including 3D laser scanning and chemical analysis, allow researchers to examine tool marks, internal structures, and inclusions with unprecedented detail. Some skulls appear to have been carved with tools or methods that would have been extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, using traditional pre-Columbian techniques. Yet, despite meticulous examination, definitive answers remain elusive. The skulls exist as enigmas, part art, part artifact, part legend, straddling the boundaries of history, archaeology, and myth. Ultimately, the crystal skulls endure as a challenge to our understanding of human craftsmanship, ritual, and imagination. They invite contemplation not merely of their origins, but of the human need to create, symbolize, and communicate across time. Are they relics of lost civilizations, masterpieces of lapidary art, or artifacts of modern fabrication? Do they hold spiritual significance, or are they mirrors of our desire to find meaning in the unknown? As we gaze into the smooth, translucent hollows of these skulls, we confront the same questions that have haunted explorers, archaeologists, and collectors for over a century. Who carved them? For what purpose? And what knowledge or intent lies encoded within their crystalline forms? The answers remain obscured, leaving us with a profound sense of awe, curiosity, and the chilling recognition that some mysteries, like the skulls themselves, may never fully surrender their secrets. The crystal skulls, silent yet mesmerizing, challenge us to reconsider the boundaries of human skill, the persistence of legend, and the enigmatic legacy of civilizations that have long vanished. They endure, like the deserts of Nazca or the forests of Minnesota, as a reminder that the past still holds secrets capable of inspiring wonder and chills that resonate far beyond the span of a single lifetime. From the luminous quartz of the crystal skulls, where human craftsmanship and enigma intertwine, we now journey further back in time and across continents to the high plains of southeastern Turkey. Here rises Göbekli Tepe, a site that has redefined our understanding of human history and civilization. Unlike cities, pyramids, or desert geoglyphs, Göbekli Tepe is a sprawling collection of massive stone circles and pillars, carved with extraordinary skill, yet dating back over 11,000 years, to a time when humans were thought to have been hunter-gatherers, with little concept of permanent settlement or monumental construction. At first sight, the site appears deceptively simple: stone pillars arranged in circular enclosures, rising from the gently rolling hills, partially buried under layers of earth and time. Yet as archaeologists have meticulously uncovered these structures, the scale and sophistication have astonished the world. Each pillar, some weighing over 20 tons, is carved with intricate reliefs depicting animals: lions, snakes, scorpions, and vultures, intertwined with abstract symbols and enigmatic humanoid figures. The precision of the carvings, combined with the weight and positioning of the megaliths, challenges assumptions about the technological capabilities of a people long considered primitive. Göbekli Tepe predates Stonehenge by roughly 6,000 years, and the Great Pyramids by nearly 7,000 years, positioning it as the oldest known monumental temple complex in the world. Its discovery has upended conventional models of societal development, suggesting that spiritual and ritual imperatives may have preceded urbanization and agriculture, rather than emerging as a consequence of settled life. Could it be that the need for communal religious expression motivated humans to organize, quarry, and transport enormous stones, laying the foundations for civilization itself? The pillars are arranged in circular or oval formations, often with T-shaped central stones flanked by smaller monoliths. Many are carved with reliefs of predators and dangerous animals, their eyes and claws rendered in remarkable detail. The symbolism remains enigmatic. Are these depictions literal? Representations of species hunted, feared, or revered? Or are they metaphorical, part of a symbolic language meant to convey spiritual beliefs, cosmic order, or societal hierarchy? The lack of written records forces scholars to interpret the carvings cautiously, yet their power is immediate, invoking a visceral sense of awe and mystery. Archaeological evidence indicates that the builders were hunter-gatherers, yet the complexity of the site suggests a level of social organization and labor coordination previously thought impossible for nomadic communities. Quarrying, transporting, and erecting multi-ton pillars requires not only manpower, but sophisticated understanding of physics, leverage, and planning. How were these tasks accomplished without the wheel, draft animals, or metal tools? Could the carvings and structures themselves hint at a lost knowledge of engineering, ritual, or astronomical observation? Some researchers have noted the alignment of certain pillars and enclosures, speculating on connections to celestial phenomena. Could the arrangement of stones have served as a calendar, a way to track solstices, equinoxes, or the movements of stars? Others suggest that the site functioned as a spiritual or ceremonial hub, bringing together disparate groups for ritual observances, feasts, or rites of passage. The sheer scale of labor invested implies a shared cultural or religious motivation, yet the details remain tantalizingly out of reach. Göbekli Tepe's carvings are particularly intriguing. The animals depicted, lions, boars, foxes, vultures, snakes, are rendered with a precision suggesting both intimate observation and symbolic intent. Some anthropologists propose that the carvings encode myths, cosmology, or societal values of a people whose beliefs have been entirely lost to time. Others speculate that abstract shapes and humanoid forms represent early attempts at a symbolic or proto-writing system, a language carved in stone rather than ink. Could these images be a key to understanding not just the site itself, but the evolution of human cognition and communication? The enigma deepens with the realization that Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried around 8000 BCE, a puzzling act that has no clear explanation. Unlike other ancient monuments that fell into ruin over time, the site was intentionally filled with earth, obscuring its magnificent pillars from view. Why would a community invest enormous effort in constructing such a complex, only to bury it? Was it an act of ritual closure? A symbolic gesture marking the end of a spiritual era? Or a practical response to social, environmental, or political pressures? The answer remains unknown, leaving only speculation and the silent testimony of stone. Excavations have revealed additional mysteries: smaller enclosures, unfinished carvings, and evidence of repeated construction phases suggest that Göbekli Tepe was a dynamic site, evolving over centuries. Yet despite the monumental effort, there is no evidence of permanent habitation, no indication of dwellings or sustained urban infrastructure. This raises profound questions about the purpose of monumental construction in human prehistory. Were these early humans driven primarily by spiritual or symbolic imperatives, rather than practical considerations such as shelter, trade, or governance? Speculative theories abound. Some researchers propose that the site represents an early temple complex, a precursor to organized religion and societal hierarchy. Others suggest that Göbekli Tepe embodies a cosmological map, a representation of the universe as understood by its builders. Fringe theories have imagined connections to lost civilizations, advanced prehistoric knowledge, or even extraterrestrial influence, though such claims remain outside mainstream scholarship. Yet all interpretations acknowledge a central fact: the site reflects a level of ingenuity, vision, and symbolic thought that challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of humanity at the dawn of civilization. The surrounding landscape offers further intrigue. Göbekli Tepe sits atop a hill overlooking plains that stretch into the distance, providing both visibility and isolation. Quarry sites for the massive pillars lie nearby, indicating that stone was transported over substantial distances without mechanized assistance. How did the builders coordinate such an immense effort, moving tons of rock, carving intricate motifs, and organizing labor across generations? What social, religious, or cultural mechanisms allowed this community to collaborate with such precision? And why has so little else survived to tell us their story? The temporal context of Göbekli Tepe adds another layer of mystery. Its construction predates the Neolithic Revolution, the transition to agriculture, challenging the notion that farming was necessary to sustain large labor projects. Could it be that human social organization, ritual, and communal ambition predated, and perhaps even motivated, the development of agriculture? If so, Göbekli Tepe is not just a site of stone. It is a window into the origins of society, faith, and collective human endeavor. Archaeologists continue to uncover new enclosures, carvings, and features, each discovery reshaping understanding of the site. Yet for every question answered, multiple new ones arise. What do the carvings truly signify? Why was the site intentionally buried? How did hunter-gatherers achieve such monumental engineering? And perhaps most compellingly, what does Göbekli Tepe tell us about the human desire to reach beyond survival, to create, to symbolize, and to connect with forces beyond the visible world? Visiting the site today, one feels a profound tension between scale and intimacy. The pillars tower above, commanding respect, yet the intricate carvings invite close inspection, revealing skill, care, and symbolic depth. Walking among the stone circles, imagining the communities that shaped them, one senses a deliberate effort to bridge the human and the divine, to assert meaning, identity, and understanding in a world largely untamed. Ultimately, Göbekli Tepe is a testament to human ambition and imagination at the dawn of civilization. It challenges assumptions about technological limits, social organization, and the role of ritual in prehistoric life. It invites reflection on the persistence of human curiosity and creativity, on the ways in which our ancestors sought to interpret the cosmos and their place within it. And, like the Nazca Lines, the crystal skulls, or the Kensington Runestone, it leaves us with enduring questions. Who built this remarkable complex, and why? What knowledge, beliefs, or insights have been lost beneath millennia of Earth? And what secrets remain hidden, waiting for patient observers to uncover them? Göbekli Tepe stands silent, monumental, and mysterious. A profound reminder that human history is far richer, more complex, and far more enigmatic than the written record alone can reveal. It whispers across time, inviting us to ponder, to wonder, and to acknowledge that the earliest chapters of civilization may hold secrets still beyond our grasp, capable of inspiring awe, speculation, and chills for generations to come. As we leave the windswept coast of Peru and the haunting story of the Lady of Cow behind, our journey now carries us across the world, to the heart of Central Asia. Here, in one of the most remote and unforgiving deserts on Earth, lies another mystery that has unsettled historians and challenged our ideas about the past: the Tarim mummies of Western China. The Tarim Basin is a vast expanse of shifting sands and scorching heat, bordered by snow-capped mountains and cut through by ancient trade routes. For millennia, this land was both a barrier and a bridge, a place where cultures met, mingled, and disappeared. And buried deep beneath the dunes, preserved by the desert's arid climate, archaeologists have uncovered some of the most startling human remains ever found. The first of these discoveries emerged in the early 20th century, when explorers stumbled upon bodies remarkably intact, their clothing still vibrant with color, their features astonishingly lifelike. Later excavations revealed hundreds more, spanning thousands of years, stretching back as far as 4,000 years ago. The desert had become a crypt, a time capsule, holding its inhabitants in eerie stasis. What shocked researchers most was not the preservation, but the appearance of these people. Many of the mummies did not resemble what one might expect from ancient populations of Western China. They had elongated noses, high cheekbones, even reddish or blonde hair that remained visible after centuries. Their woven garments displayed complex patterns, resembling textiles of distant Europe rather than the styles of early East Asia. Who were these people? And how did they come to rest in this isolated desert? Mainstream archaeology offers some explanations. Genetic studies suggest that the Tarim mummies were part of a diverse population with roots stretching across Eurasia, possibly connected to Indo-European groups who migrated eastward thousands of years ago. Their presence in the Tarim Basin, along the paths that would later become the Silk Road, may point to a forgotten chapter of migration, trade, and cultural exchange. These individuals could have been pastoralists, moving herds across the steppe, carrying with them languages, technologies, and traditions that mingled with those of early Chinese civilizations. Yet, as always, the deeper we look, the more questions arise. Some of the mummies were found with objects that defy simple explanation. Musical instruments resembling harps, tools fashioned in ways unfamiliar to the region, and clothing that suggests advanced weaving techniques long before such skills were thought to exist here. Their burial practices, too, are unusual. The so-called Beauty of Lulan, one of the most famous mummies, was interred with great care, her body positioned as though she had simply drifted into eternal sleep. What beliefs guided these rituals? Theories stretch outward like the desert itself. Some suggest that the Tarim mummies were evidence of a lost culture that once spanned continents, a people whose presence was later erased or absorbed into the currents of history. Others point to their unexpected appearance as a clue that our timelines of migration are incomplete, that ancient humans may have traveled farther, faster, and earlier than we've ever imagined. Could it be that the Silk Road was not just a medieval phenomenon, but the continuation of a much older, deeper network of contact between East and West? And then there are the more speculative ideas. Fringe researchers have proposed links between the Tarim mummies and the myths of lost civilizations, from the Aryan migrations to even more mysterious origins. Some argue that the mummies' striking features echo legends of gods or sky people remembered in local folklore. Others have tried to connect them to stories of vanished cultures like Atlantis, or to suggest that they represent an ancient, forgotten branch of humanity itself. These interpretations may stretch beyond the evidence, but they reveal a powerful truth. The Tarim mummies touch something deep in our imagination. They remind us that history is not a straight line, but a tapestry of interwoven threads, some visible, others still hidden beneath the sands. What is perhaps most haunting is the sense of individuality preserved in these bodies. Unlike many ancient remains, the Tarim mummies are not abstract. They are strikingly human. We can see the wrinkles in their skin, the braids in their hair, even the sorrow in their frozen expressions. They are not just relics of a lost people, but men, women, and children whose lives ended here in the desert, their stories sealed away until the wind revealed them again. And so we are left with questions that archaeology alone cannot answer. Who were the ancestors of the Tarim mummies, and what journeys brought them to this desolate basin? Did they thrive here as a forgotten culture, or were they wayfarers, caught between worlds and times? And how many more of them still lie hidden beneath the dunes, waiting for discovery? The Tarim mummies stand as silent witnesses to a past we cannot fully reconstruct. They invite us to reconsider the boundaries of ancient civilizations, to wonder whether the divisions we assume between East and West, past and present, are as fixed as we imagine. Their very existence is a mystery, both familiar and alien, unsettling and beautiful. Perhaps, somewhere beneath the sands of the Taklamakan Desert, more answers remain buried. Or perhaps the desert keeps its secrets deliberately, allowing us only fleeting glimpses of a forgotten world. And so the question remains, lingering in the dry air of the Tarim Basin? Are the mummies simply the remnants of a long-lost migration? Or are they a message from a past we have yet to understand? High on the arid northern coast of Peru, overlooking the restless waves of the Pacific, rises a monumental adobe pyramid known as Huaca Chao Viejo. For centuries, it lay in silence, its walls eroded by desert winds, its murals half buried beneath shifting sands. But within these weathered ruins, archaeologists uncovered one of the most extraordinary burials in South America, the El Brujo tomb. In 2005, researchers unearthed the remarkably preserved remains of a woman who would come to be known as La Señora de Cao, the Lady of Cao. She was wrapped carefully in fine textiles, adorned with intricate jewelry and surrounded by ceremonial offerings. Her skin, astonishingly, still bore the marks of elaborate tattoos. Serpents, spiders, and symbols etched across her arms and hands. It was a discovery that challenged long-held assumptions about the ancient Moche civilization, which flourished here more than 1,500 years ago. The Moche were a people known for their extraordinary artistry and their complex rituals, often depicted in vivid pottery and murals. Their world was one of powerful rulers, priest-kings, and ceremonial sacrifices offered to appease forces of nature. For decades, scholars believed political and spiritual authority in Moche society was almost exclusively male. And yet, here lay a woman buried with the regalia of power, scepters, crowns, and emblems that signified rulership. Was she a queen, a priestess, or both? The evidence points to influence beyond the ordinary. Her burial was among the richest ever found in Moche territory. The symbols inked into her skin seem to echo the cosmological beliefs of her people. Creatures that bridged earth and spirit, life and death. Some suggest her tattoos were more than decoration, that they marked her as an intermediary between worlds, a vessel of divine authority. Could she have been regarded as a living embodiment of the supernatural? But as compelling as these interpretations are, questions remain. Why here, at El Brujo, on the edge of the desert and sea? The pyramid itself was already an ancient ceremonial site, its walls painted with scenes of sacrifice and ritual combat. Did the Lady of Cao rule from this place, overseeing ceremonies that bound her people to the gods? Or was this tomb more symbolic, meant to immortalize her status in death rather than reflect her power in life? There are mysteries, too, in her physical remains. Analysis suggests she died in her 20s, possibly from complications of childbirth. If true, it paints a poignant picture. A young woman of immense authority whose life ended abruptly. Yet her burial radiates reverence, as though her death itself carried cosmic significance. Some scholars argue that the extraordinary care given to her tomb reflects a society grappling with both loss and continuity, ensuring her influence extended beyond the grave. And then, there are the questions that reach beyond orthodox scholarship. How did the Moche achieve such remarkable preservation of her body and tattoos in a harsh coastal climate? Was it deliberate, a mastery of techniques we no longer understand, or merely a stroke of environmental fortune? Why do her tattoos bear motifs that seem to resonate with universal archetypes, serpents, spiders, constellations, that appear across ancient cultures separated by oceans? Coincidence, shared human imagination, or something more? Some speculative theories even suggest the Lady of Cao may have embodied a tradition of female shamans or rulers suppressed in later histories. Others point to the name of the site itself, El Brujo, the wizard or the sorcerer, as a clue, hinting that this pyramid was long associated with powerful magic, long before archaeology arrived to lift the sands. As we stand before her remains, now housed in a climate-controlled museum near the site, we are left with a paradox. We can analyze the fibers of her garments, the composition of her ornaments, even the DNA within her preserved skin. And yet the essence of who she was, how she ruled, how her people saw her, why she was chosen to carry such immense authority, remains just beyond our reach. Was the Lady of Kau a singular exception, or proof that history has overlooked entire traditions of female power in the ancient Andes? Was she revered as a ruler, a priestess, or as something altogether more mysterious? An embodiment of divine forces that even her people could scarcely define? The El Brujo tomb reminds us that history is not fixed but alive, shifting with every discovery. It whispers that beneath the sand, behind the murals, more stories may wait to be revealed. Perhaps others like her still lie hidden, their secrets sealed in earth and time. And so the question lingers. What else does El Brujo conceal? And how much of our understanding of the past remains only an illusion awaiting the next discovery to unravel it?